All right, thank you everybody for your patience. So, quick last look at the two drafts from both these teams. That is the Aaru Scorpions and the Athenian Sages. Let's see how we go as we head on into game number 1 for this all-important matchup. And we were discussing spooky in picks and bans about the fact that both teams were looking at these drafts from pretty much the top of the tier list. However, towards the end of the Aaru Scorpions draft, they kind of got their tier list flipped upside down a little. The Shiva pickup is one that really concerns me.
Yeah, it feels like Snaddy and RelentlessOne just had like a pre-game conversation. There's just a little gentleman's agreement. Hey, you want to put all the cringe stuff on the side and just play a fun game? Apparently they agreed. Because this is a much more like aggressive lane phase than we typically see from the solo laners. Snaddy on the Surtr wants to get active early, he wants to fight. RelentlessOne on the Shiva is pretty much relying on his early game to be good if he wants to do anything in the game. And it's just like you mentioned, it's a concerning pick because if it doesn't have a strong start, it's not doing anything for the rest of the game in its entirety. If you're not snowballing and rotating out early as the Shiva, you're pretty much wasting all the strong points of Shiva's game time. You need to be active early, you need to look for some invades, try to get the pressure in that lane. And it's not a bad look either, right? Because if you can force this Surtr out, deny him his stacks, so he's not getting that extra damage online as quickly, you can have a bigger influence in the fights. But the problem is, Snaddy's ultimate is going to be very effective regardless of how many stacks he has on his first ability, however much damage it's doing. The end of days is going to be a major problem the Scorpions have to be aware of. So the real plan here is put Snaddy behind, keep him from getting tanky, and let Bayroneri get a first blood in mid. Why not?
Yep, that is Shiva's impact. Has been discussed in the past that Shiva's strongest point is actually walking to lane at the start of the game. Very good at that. Has a very fancy strut about him. But no, you do bring up a good point. Snaddy on this Surtr pickup, Surtr's real strength is this early phase also. And if you can shut that down, previously we'd seen that done with a Hades. I don't know why we're not seeing it done with a Hades this time, but instead it's being done with the Shiva. Okay, it was banned out, so that makes sense. This is probably one of the few gods that can match up. Hold on, right-hand side, this one, the Snaddy, brawl it out. Grave is here to secure that cooldown buff instead. And, I do feel like RelentlessOne, look at this, full health, full mana, level 3 already. Snaddy's really going to have a tough time here, at least until that ultimate comes online.
Yeah, he's going to have a little bit of a tough time, but right now, he's playing it well. He's staying further back. He's not allowing RelentlessOne to just get aggressive on him, get free damage. Yeah, he's half health, but he's still in a position where he can still farm this wave and not lose a bunch. If he's not dying, he's not losing XP and gold, he's okay. All he has to do is get durability online, get his tank items, so that when he does drop the ultimate into 3 people, he doesn't instantly die. That's the only thing he has to do. Meanwhile, Grave runs into Migiiiii in his own jungle. Keep an eye. Let's see a little bit of an invade here. They just should respond.
Yeah, just like that. Blink of an eye, RelentlessOne and Migiiiii get that small objective. Now, Snaddy will battle this one back. RelentlessOne, no mana, of course, and Migiiiii, Thor not being the best at securing their own blue buff, but Snaddy will give this one up and just return. It's interesting to see Thor being the aggressor in the jungle. I suppose it has something to do with the fact that Grave actually fell for that first blood, but normally you might give the early matchup, without ultimates at least, in favor of the Susano.
I think it's partly just because RelentlessOne is also on the Shiva and still in his strongest part of the game. If you're going to pick the Shiva, you should be playing around it. You should be trying to facilitate it however you can. And that's going to be these blue buff invades. You want to get active over there. So you have to send Migiiiii over to try to have some kind of impact as well. Make sure that Shiva's doing what job it can and keeping it relevant. If that means you take a slightly worse matchup as Thor into the Susano and just rely on RelentlessOne getting in there, absolutely, because he has enough mobility, enough disruption to really prevent Grave from just free casting on Migiiiii and getting the entire kit off. I think it's very smart for Scorpions to play on that side for right now. But on the left side, as we transition across the map, I expect Migiiiii to be contesting Grave a lot less on the duo side because they don't have that same kind of early aggression. Yes, they do have the Soul, they do have the Athena. It's also going up against that Yemoja. It's a lot easier to get caught out there. It's a little bit riskier. So I expect the more aggressive confrontations against junglers to happen on that right side.
Understandable. And that is exactly what we've seen so far. Very little action on the left-hand side of the map. We did see GuyJ get a little bit low health, but, you know, is a soul. Can easily heal that up. Also a meditation from NotGeno will just sustain through that a little bit more, but Snaddy not sustaining through the damage from Migiiiii and RelentlessOne. That is the first Anvil of Dawn of the game, and, well, it's always good when your first one becomes a good one.
Yeah, an excellent wall from Migiiiii as well prevented Snaddy from backing up into his tower, so he could only sit there and take the damage from Migiiiii and RelentlessOne. Doing excellent work on the Shiva so far. This is exactly how you need to see it play, but have to keep this ball rolling. They can't just, you know, say, okay, we got a nice little lead on our Shiva 5 minutes into the game. We can go do other things now. Now, the Shiva has to get active across the map as well. Look at the goal right now. Scorpions do have a not insignificant lead for the time in the game right now. If they keep this up, they should be able to spool it into a bigger lead. You can already see Migiiiii heading to that blue buff. That's the big contention point. This is where they have to be playing around to get this lead growing for them. So very good from the Scorpions to keep on it. And oh boy, some more ults traded over the duo lane. Judas, there's just so much fighting that you don't get to see.
Look, it's NA. This is what we do here. That is a purple buff invaded this time from the Athenian Sages, though, and we've seen this these days. In the current phase of the game is that if you are losing heavily on one side of the map, just go to the other one. You know, just get over to the other side, invade the purple buff to counter out the blue buff invade. Dual lane has been seen as the more important lane. I think we mentioned in Pix of Man's first 12 minutes or so. It's generally been all about the dual lane, but with this volatile solo lane, as we're still seeing more action going on over there, I can understand why the Aaru Scorpions have decided to focus their attentions there. But Snaddy has already fallen, is clearly in a losing lane matchup, right? That's just how it is. There's not really a whole lot Snaddy can do about this. Still seems to be building into that vital amplifier and hoping to show up later on much stronger. Is that what you would advise you? Oh, it's actually a Sekhmet Scepter.
Yeah, I would actually advise the Sekhmet Scepter over the Vital Amplifier.
Would you?
Right? Yeah, I mean, right there. You see, he listened. He went for it instead. I'm going to have to come back to that because Geno, a bit of a bad spot here.
Oh, no. Yeah, no ultimate to speak of as well. But there's a dunk in from Migiiiii. However, the chase from Grave is good. It burns the beads to do so. Migiiiii gets stunned out, also uses the beads, and that's the Mjolnir's attunement to seal the fate through space and time. Gives Migiiiii a great access and a fantastic wall. Stellar burst, great from GuyJ. Migiiiii slams down the support for the enemy team. GuyJ in some danger trading blows, but has to retreat. Does DonutDoug because Migiiiii still wants in. There's the beads. There's the fire back. Good damage. There is the range advantage of DonutDoug, but cannot connect with the shots. No mana for anyone to work with means that is a pair of kills for the Scorpions.
Bayroneri now playing with fire over here. Just keep an eye on Grave and Nayhoo. Make sure they cannot freely rotate into that fight. Excellent ultimate usage from both sides there. Migiiiii hitting 3 with his Anvil of Dawn. It didn't save Geno's life, but it did turn that fight around. Snaddy out in some trouble as well. Should be able to find a way out. He's got the End of Days available.
Yep.
We'll go ahead and burn that one just for safety's sake. Straight into the blue buff invade for the Scorpions. I don't think Snaddy's seen a second blue buff in this game so far. Every single one has been stripped away. The Scorpions are firing on all cylinders right now. You know, we talked a little bit before this game about how important of a set this is for both teams. You can see how much this means for the Scorps. They really lost that one to a Yemoja bubble, didn't they? Jeez. That's just the worst feeling.
We've seen a lot of that lately, is just these supports walking up and just chancing their arm at some of these invades. And it just seems to work, like, way more than it should. Like, the success rate is somewhere in the region of, like, 70%. And that's just, like, crazy. It should not be that high. But these supports are just in that mode where they're just being a harassment tool. But so far, it's the Athenian Sages being harassed by the Aaru Scorpions. 4 kills to 1 and a steady gold lead. Not quite to the moon just yet for the Scorpions, but they are doing the right things and playing around this lead like you advised they should do earlier.
Yeah, so far, they pretty much just left RelentlessOne kind of on an island over there. They show up to take away the blue buffs, make sure he's still doing something that's resulted in a 2-level lead for RelentlessOne over here. But it's good for the Scorpions to not completely focus in on it. They're staying aware of the rest of the map and not just funneling everything onto the right side. They're still trying to facilitate this dual lane because, as you mentioned, this has been the lane to play around for... I don't even know how long, geez. It feels like an eternity at this rate. It feels like dual lane is always the big pressure point in Smite these days. The Scorpions are aware, but they know how much they need to be doing. Migiiiiii!
Snaddy in big trouble. There's the hammer. There's the combo. Big damage. Is it enough? Yes! And Snaddy does not get the end of days. It's the end of the life of the Surtr, yet again falling down. That is a killing spree for Migiiiiii. It's Thor running the show so far.
Yeah, I can't say that the Surtr's really been paying dividends so far, but you don't really need him to win the lane phase, right? He still does have an impactful enough ult that he can just become an ult bot. It doesn't look great right now. He's 2 levels down. He's having a very bad time. He's not going to be able to really stop RelentlessOne from doing anything that RelentlessOne wants to do. As this game goes on, he will be able to just drop a fireball from the heavens and still be able to impact a fight. Now, how quickly he survives after that, and whether it's an int or not, that's another question. Well, we don't have the answer for that just yet. As long as he gets some tank items all online, he lost another blue buff. I'm just going to stop talking about Snaddy because he doesn't deserve it. And I mean that he doesn't deserve the hate.
What's not fair is the River's Rebuke is a really good ultimate, as Geno is finding out, and that is a quick pick for the Sages on this left-hand side, and it's really what they needed to not necessarily get back into this game, but it's been skewing against them so far. And with this beacon spawning in about 50 seconds or so, you want to be able to show up to that. Snaddy still struggling on this right-hand side means that RelentlessOne will have the advantage in an early rotation. So I think the Sages need to find their window on this left-hand side for sure.
The Sages need to find a win on the left side, but with the River's Rebuke being down right now, they're not in a position to make plays on that side. Scorpions have a pretty good lead right now. We're only about 12 minutes into this game. Gold lead, around the 3,000 mark already. That's crazy for how little game time we've actually seen so far.
Yeah.
As this tower goes down, that's going to extend the lead just that much more. Scorpions should now be looking to group up around this Fury while that River's Rebuke is still down, while Snaddy's ult is still down. They've got plenty of burn. They've got Bayroneri for secure. Now they've got a little fight, perhaps. Good God, the damage.
Damage is great with the CC combo as well. I haven't had a chance to touch on this Athena too much, but it is that tried and tested dash taunt combination. It can just win you a team fight in the moment, especially those small skirmishes. That is the beacon now going the way of the Scorpions, and Migiiiii's looking for a little bit more under DonutDoug.
So they should. They should just be positioning for this Fury. They know. Got a little bit of time to work with. Hámmy still does not have that ultimate back up just yet. The Scorpions doing a little bit of a heat check, seeing what the response is from the Sages when they start moving around this left side. See if they can sneak a Gold Fury, and they can't. Sages do respond, but I don't know. I feel like the Sages aren't really in a great position to be contesting. Oh my God! You can't just let him get away with that.
Yeah, if Bayroneri wants to go for the ult, it will not kill Nayhoo, but it will deal mental damage. Level 16 on the Janus, that's true.
We're 13 minutes in!
it's just easy to farm, you know? You just kind of run around the map when so much is being cleared elsewhere. Hold on, did Snaddy get a blue buff? Snaddy got a blue buff! That is huge, but the damage is also huge onto Hámmy. Gets a Riptide straight into a wall. Doesn't seem to mind it, though. Migiiiii up to the sky.
In.
No way you go for this. You'll instead go for Grave,
nice.
who has the beads and dash on out. That creates the space for a Pyromancer and another objective for the Aaru Scorpions.
Another objective. This is the first one they're finally going for here, but I'm glad to see the Scorpions pulling the trigger on that. Through space and time does come through. Ooh. Snaddy on the back end. Sure, they don't get to chase through, and Nayhoo gets to survive as a result of that. Snaddy kind of clutched up there. If they were allowed to just walk through that through space and time, I don't think Nayhoo is going to have too good of a time from the follow-up there.
That's the investment of the Runic Bomb already expended and nets a tier 1 tower, thought by many to be one of the most important objectives on the map at the moment. So that's already 2 towers down for the Aaru Scorpions. They picked up the Pyromancer, they've picked up the first beacon. Snaddy getting picked up by RelentlessOne and NotGeno. Now, this is where Snaddy is relatively tanky, does have the ultimate available, so he's just looking to expend some time and will go up into the end of days. RelentlessOne decides not to give chase. Snaddy actually drops down relatively close. Geno's still nearby, but only level 11 is this Athena. However, level 12 is Grave. The Susano not having the best of starts here either. It's just been all in favor of the Scorpions so far.
I really can't blame Grave, honestly. Because where does the Susano go right now? Are you going to go over to the duo lane? Probably not. GuyJ has to disapparate. Geno's just going to use the Defender of Olympus. Possibly Disapparate comes through. Haunt. Now, you're just being melted by the Scorpions. That's just how much damage they have. They're so far ahead right now that you can't step up to this Fury. A 5-on-5, a 4-on-5, it doesn't happen. They've got a 5k lead 15 minutes in. If you try fighting around just a Gold Fury on that, you're potentially throwing an even bigger lead the way of the Scorpions.
Yeah, it's one of those games. One of those games where there's not really a big secure on the map, but hold on, Hámmy maybe in some trouble. Migiiiii has shown up as well. That's the Sanctified Fields combined with the River's Rebuke. An excellent combo when it works, but up into the sky goes this Thor. Will dunk down in the safety of their own tower, though. And that's actually a small skirmish victory for the Sages. They're looking to turn this one into a tier 1 tower, and Scorpions can't really do a lot about it. So they'll just have to take their purple buff as a small victory.
A small victory, but a victory nonetheless for the Sages. Sure, you don't get really anything for your ults, but forced out the Anvil of Dawn, you forced out the Defender of Olympus, and that nets you a tier 1 tower. It doesn't completely make up for the deficit. It does shore things up a little bit. The big thing is they didn't give anyone up to get that gold on the map, which makes it much more worthwhile for them. Good lord. Snaddy trying his best, but RelentlessOne just doesn't die over here. Simply too far ahead with a 3-level lead. Grave to try to change things up, but the dance should just negate everything.
Because the Shiva Tendava with the increased movement speed as well has come out of it, but Migiiiii is on the scene. Hámmy nearby as well. There's beads coming out. Migiiiii is all alone here. Gets pulled into some extra damage. Great stun over the wall from Hámmy. Through space and time to the backside, but that will be a retreat. Migiiiii goes back up. Migiiiii wants back in. Will actually lock down Hámmy, but this Yemoja is still pretty tanky. A lot expended from both sides. The solo lane fake damage strikes again, I see.
I still gotta say, I think that favors the Sages. Sure, they lose beads on Grave, but they've also forced out the ultimate from Migiiiii. They forced out the ultimate from RelentlessOne. And when you are behind, trading just ults and nothing else, that's a victory for you, because that's a little bit more time that the Scorpions cannot make a play against you. They cannot use those ultimates aggressively and try to abuse their lead. This gives the Sages some time to farm up, keep passively gaining some XP and some gold, and trying to push closer towards that level 20 mark. On the other hand, Scorpions now know that there's a few ultimates down for the Sages. They can make some more aggressive positioning. There's no way he stole that.
Yeah, he stole that.
God. Can we just give Snaddy a break, man? Can we just give him a break?
Snaddy is for sure saddy right now.
Oh, come on now. You didn't have to do him like that.
It's one of those games, man. If you ever played solo lane, sometimes this just happens to you. Speaking of this, look at the having to get on out. I'm thinking of calling like some bullying helpline right now. It's just not going well for Snaddy, but it is a Pyromancer being started up by the Scorpions. The Sages are aware they are fighting with a man disadvantage, however, and just can't get the positioning in. They don't have great dive without this Surtr available.
No
Go for the steal is Hámmy, but Aaru Scorpions do manage to pick it up. RelentlessOne manages to walk out now, does actually use the Purification Beast to get through that Riptide, but it's just another clear objective that the Scorpions pick up.
Yeah, this gold lead is starting to spiral out of hand. We've only got 7 kills on the board. We're 19 minutes into the game, pushing closer and closer to that 6K mark for the Scorpions. Sages, they're consistently finding some pushback. They're looking for these opportunities, but they never have quite enough. And part of that is just because of the massive XP gap in the teams right now. Yeah. They just don't have the damage online. They don't have the gold. And so even though they're taking some good fights, even though they're taking members of these Scorpions low, they can't find that little last push they need to take them off the board. And it's taking so long to find these small wins that the Scorpions are consistently able to rotate back in, because that's the strength of their draft. That's what they've been designed to do. They've got the Athena, they've got Thor, they've got Janus. Anytime you think you're catching someone out, it's just a matter of seconds before the rest of the team turns up and you're forced to completely disengage from everything. The Sages simply have no foothold right now that they can dig into.
Now, the one saving grace they do have is DonutDoug on this Olorun. Now, Olorun is not quite that crazy hyper carry style carry. Now, don't get me wrong, does tons of damage late game, but does need a bit of protection from the team. You need to hit a good sanctified fields. Now, Hámmy on this Yemoja can provide for that, but you need to be in position, and they are not for this Oni Fury. On the way are the Sages. Oni Fury does get dropped. Bayroneri gets stunned now. Instead of getting through the portal, RelentlessOne creates some space, and at the moment, that's gone okay for the Sages. Not a whole lot expended. Still, everyone almost with their ultimates. It's just Hámmy with this River's Rebuke. Now going in with a taunt is NotGeno, but a fantastic stun from Snaddy shuts that one down. At the moment, the Sages don't want to fight, but they definitely don't want to give up this gold fury. Wow, Migiiiiii goes in, thinks a little bit better of it, as does RelentlessOne. Bayroneri now forced out. RelentlessOne creating some big space, though. On top of Nayhoo, through space and time, doesn't connect. There's the combo we're looking for, but it does not connect for the Sages. Now all of their AoE spells are down. Not a whole lot left to work with. Well, health bars are getting lower for the Sages, and Grave falls first. And that is the cue for the Scorpions to charge on forward, pick up Hámmy, and now pick up this Oni Fury.
That's just the goal difference at work there. The Scorpions able to consistently push forward and then disengage. Grave looking for that beautiful flank. He was almost had it. The Sages just aren't on the same page. They can't get everything firing correctly. They almost had a really good fight. Combine the River's Rebuke and the Sanctified Field. DonutDoug secures his own purple buff there. They didn't have the follow-up. Snaddy tried to come down, tried to target Bayroneri, who was the focus for a lot of that fight. But he just walks through a wall right before the landing. Snaddy finds 0 value at the end of days. And from there, the Sages are in a perfect position to be collapsed on. Keep an eye on Migiiiiii here in the back. DonutDoug is the target.
Oh, doesn't connect with the ult. Does not connect with the stun and runs away with his tail between his legs. But that is enough for Migiiiiii to do in this moment. There's not a whole lot up to fight for. And if you do succeed with a kill onto DonutDoug there, all of a sudden you're in a massively commanding position. So I understand the attempt, but does not quite come off this time.
Yeah, if you have a lead, you might as well try to use it, right? He was completely by himself, so there wasn't really any punishment for Migiiiiii doing that. Plus, he's already level 20, so he knows DonutDoug doesn't have ult. He's okay to make a couple little funny plays like that. Doesn't pay off, oh well. Just back up, you've got the hammer. You'll figure it out later. Now, the only consequence of that is that Migiiiiii doesn't get to brag about a solo kill and now has to group up with his team for the next objective. That's really all that's happened. The next objective most certainly should be the Fire Giant. Pyromancer going to be looked at first, taken down just to make sure they just can't sneak that one away. You know that this is just being taken, set up for the bigger objective on everyone's minds. And at the state of the game right now, this is an important Fire Giant. The Sages are in no position to contest around this. Instead, they should split the map like they're doing now. Take this tier 2, potentially look for a little bit more, but with RelentlessOne back, can't take a Phoenix. Scorpions recognize it. They're on this Fire Giant. They're going to set this up, start burning it down.
It's only the front line here for the Athenian Sages, but not a ton of damage. Half HP on the Fire Giant. The End of Days comes out, and that will frighten away the Aaru Scorpions for the time being. But it just means they will re-engage. Now the backline all the way in. As is Grave. Titans pushing down the mid lane. Fire Giant very low. That's River's Rebuke. It's fantastic. Actually sets this up, and the Sages will steal it away. Nothing big there, but Migiiiiii goes in. Has to go right back out. A smash and grab from the Sages, and they get that all-important objective to get them right back into this game.
Man, we've got ultimates available for the secure. Through space of time is there. Why wasn't it used when the River's Rebuke came through? You've got to be ready to secure those. Now, good news is, at least for the Scorpions, this is an offensive Fire Giant for the Sages. They're in no position to be pushing forward with this, and with Titans roaming down the mid lane, they're still in for a fight.
Oh, Geno in big trouble, gets locked into the Sanctified Fields. Up to the sky goes Migiiiiii, again has to retreat away. GuyJ gets caught with a big Riptide. Now can they battle back? They're trying. The Unstable Vortex is good, but GuyJ has nowhere to go. The tier 2 will fall down, but the Sages get some massively important, just Hámmy gets hit by Bayroneri, does not react and gets killed off. Now Migiiiiii in danger. Grave giving chase, gets the kill, and the Athenian Sages are so back in this game. They're looking to push down mid.
Man, you gotta respect the Fire Giant. You can have a massive lead, but if you're just pushing 5-on-5 into a tier 2 with a Fire Giant around the defender's belts, that's not a pretty fight for you. It's bloody, and it's still going. This is a vicious siege.
Pushing in now, Grave goes deep, Bayro nowhere to go, gets a perfect Aegis Amulet. There comes the chase, but Nayhoo can't find the damage. RelentlessOne 1v2 in the mid lane, left side Phoenix, burning slowly, it's going down, hasn't fallen yet. Grave dashes out to safety, Nayhoo has to retreat as well, but the frontline chase is too good. Geno picks up that kill, left side Phoenix still survives. This game has exploded.
I tell you right now, if Nayhoo cancels the Baba Yaga ultimate instead of throwing the fireballs out, they get that left side Phoenix. It's a very small misstep, but a misstep nonetheless. I can't blame him for not doing it. He was trying to secure the kill onto Bayroneri, but at that point he walked the wall, he was gone. God, just try to focus down that last objective there. Scorpions, after a fumble, are able to save the game for themselves here, pull back. And that's what this kind of lead affords you. You can make missteps like that and still come back forward. The Athenian Sages closed up a lot of distance, but they're by no means in the driver's seat right now. They're still down in gold. Lost 2 with the Fire Giant. Now looking to contest around the Fury. Yikes!
Big damage to the front line, but the front line still stands strong enough. This Primal Fury cannot get finished off by the Scorpions. Migiiiiii has to cancel that Anvil of Dawn. RelentlessOne gets caught, is locked in place, can't get through the wall, has taken a good chunk of damage so far. Grave sweeping through the backside. Now there are still 3 with Fire Giant, and Grave gets the shutdown onto Bayroneri. Killing spree for the Susano. Into the sky goes Snaddy. There's a double knockup. GuyJ gets caught. Fantastic Sanctified Fields means the DonutDoug is running through NotGeno. Snaddy is creating so much space now on this Surtr. Migiiiiii just providing a little bit of CC. Nobody falls just yet, but that is still a wide open mid Phoenix. Geno has to back, will not back in time. Left side Phoenix is exposed as well. DonutDoug is here to provide the damage. RelentlessOne, though, has the defender of Olympus. GuyJ wants to find out some damage as well. Hammy's low, but GuyJ falls down. Snaddy diving deep to the back line. And now Migiiiiii dives onto Hámmy. The power brawling does not end. Migiiiiii is so low. Snaddy picks them up. They need to be careful to the Scorpions. This could spell the end of the game if they're not careful.
This could be the end of the left bird for sure here. 3 still up. No more Fire Giant on this siege.
It's close.
The defenders are here.
That is a good knock-up from Grave, but the
Snaddy!
health bars
No
are so
way!
high. No way!
What?
Fighting back, Nayhoo doesn't have the damage. Snaddy has to retreat. RelentlessOne shuts down this Baba Yaga. The left side bird, the absolute bane of the Athenian Sages. And Snaddy will die in just a moment's time.
It's going to be an execute, though. He's not forking over any more kill credits. He had a bad lane phase. He said that's the end of it. This left bird, somehow still alive through fire and high water. It's impossible to bring this thing down. How low that is. It's insane to me that the Scorpions are able to pull that defense off. And throughout this entire fight, that whole siege, I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, okay, the Scorpions were afforded one misstep. You can't make a second one right after it like that. That's exactly what the Scorpions do. They step too far forward. They zone people. They try to zone with the Thor ult, end up not dunking on anyone, and they just give the Sages free access to their backline. Now, they're going to start up this Fire Giant. Still maintaining a gold lead, but it's a lot closer this time.
This is vital. Migiiiiii goes up to the sky. I think that'll be enough to prevent the Sages from getting in. Migiiiiii doesn't connect with the Anvil of Dawn, but the Aaru Scorpions do get this Fire Giant. This game's fantastic. I'm so happy this is just game one. We're guaranteed at least another one of these. But after a big misstep from the Scorpions, they are now 13 kills to 8. They are very tight on gold still, but now have the all-important Fire Giant buff that will push them through. It's not enhanced still. We are just about to tick on over to that 30-minute mark. What is the play for the Scorpions? Do you have to push this advantage? You're still missing that mid-Phoenix, but surely you want to start taking away some of these towns.
Honestly, they're at a point right now where they can split the map a little bit. You can very easily send one person, say Migiiiiii, over on the left side, take down that tier 2 tower, the rest of the team can step forward and start pressuring this mid lane. That's really their first focus, is taking down that middle bird to try to offset the fire minions that are walking down right now. Even if they can't do that, if they can just get the attention of the Sages on that lane, no one's going to step up to the tier 2s. No one's defending a tier 2 against Fire Giant right now. So Scorpions send one person down left side, keep the Sages all in middle. Meanwhile, they're just clearing out the fire minions, so this push is effectively negated just on account of the Scorpion's presence. And then they can look at maybe diving this mid lane Phoenix. Maybe they don't feel comfortable with that. Maybe they don't want the right side. Fine, send Migiiiiii over there too. Scorpions right now can kind of control the flow of this game. Should be able to take down both tier 2s without much problem. It's just a matter of where they want to put their main focus. They could even send 4 down the left side and just have RelentlessOne like he is now in mid lane, dealing with fire minions, and just keeping the Sages kind of looking his way right now. He's a guy who can just come in through a Phoenix and flank the rest of the Sages from behind their own bird, really start to disrupt a fight. Scorpions maybe looking to get aggressive here.
They are going to take this left side tier 2 and have made inroads up that middle lane as well. They have ward coverage to the Athenian Sages though, so not going to be able to have much of a sneak attempt from the Aaru Scorpions. It is a 3-2 split. Mid lane Phoenix has respawned for the Aaru Scorpions. That means no more fire minions to spawn. The Sages are set up in their defensive positions with what will be the go button for the Scorpions. They don't have a clear one. There's no Titan on the way, no Oni minions to wait for, no Fire Giant, no Gold Fury, no Pyromancer set up. It's just a case of when they decide they are ready for it. Looks like they're ready on both lanes at the moment, but taking a lot of damage in left.
Go button for them is how much attention can RelentlessOne and Migiiiiii pull towards that middle Phoenix, and they're pulling a lot of it. Now on that left side, you can see the rest of the Scorpions stepping right back up. Shiva and Dava just used to keep the Scorpions healthy for right now. They've still got Fire Giant, got that passive healing going for themselves. Sages have to be very careful right now not to commit too much to any one defense. Grave hovering around, ready to switch between birds as needed here. They may try to come through the wall, look for a flank on something here.
Oh man, the discipline of the Athenian Sages right now to hold the ults, and they have done it. They have deflected the Aaru Scorpions just by virtue of holding on to, for example, that Sanctified Field, that River's Rebuke, the Home Sweet Home. It's so tough to commit either one way for the Aaru Scorpions, and they can't do it. We'll be back to meet all equal for this upcoming Enhanced Fire Giant. What a game so far.
I can't believe that Scorpions didn't even try for that tier 2 on the right side. Sure, you know,
True, yeah.
I understand them not trying to push too much around that middle Phoenix or that left bird. So tight corridors, lots of ultimates available. You don't want to get caught out there. But if it's not working, you can easily pull back and go towards that right side tower. Now, I grant you, they didn't have minions pushing up, so that may have been why they were so hesitant over there. But at this point of the game, you know, your Athena can tank a few tower shots. You can have GuyJ shred that tower down. It's not going to last long against him. Instead, Scorpions decide to play this a little bit more cautiously. They looked at the timer of the Fire Giant, so we don't need to be taking risks right now. We've already allowed the Sages to capitalize on 2 mistakes of ours. They capitalize hard on them. They're not about to give them a third one. Especially the later this game goes, those respawn timers get so high. Next mistake that either team makes could very well be the last.
Wants to be the one on the front foot. Huge chunk of damage done to Hámmy. But oh my goodness, GuyJ looped on into the Riptide. Now in major danger is this soul. Gets out of the Sanctified Fields but does not get away from Snaddy. Grave, however, shall fall to Migiiiiii. The damage comes out from the Home Sweet Home. Hámmy so low. There is the through space and time. Bayroneri going absolutely nuts this fight. Snaddy being chased. There's a portal. That is going to be a lot of danger for this Surtr trying to retreat under the tier 2 tower. Can't go any further away though. The Supernova is good. Bayroneri with the triple kill. RelentlessOne gives chase to DonutDoug. I think the Aaru Scorpions might have done it.
Yeah, this should just be the game end right here. Bird goes down, melted in an instant. Don't count RelentlessOne out. He's back in, but he's got the teleport. He's going to come back in full health. He's going to lead a charge once more straight to that Titan.
DonutDoug against the world. No Sanctified Fields, gets the Purification Beads out. But now the Titan is under duress. Bayroneri done a ton of damage so far. Migiiiiii trying to dish it out as well. Titan is half HP. DonutDoug still firing back, but does not have the damage to prevent the Aaru Scorpions taking down game number 1.
Excellent play from the RelentlessOne on the Shiva.
Fantastic.
We were questioning it. I was questioning it during the picks and bans. But he capitalized on it so well in that very last fight. I don't know if you were keeping an eye on it, but GuyJ, with dead to rights, only reason he was still alive is because when Grave came in and used the Wind Siphon, he pulled him out of Hammy's stun, which allowed him a little bit more time, not being CC'd, to get into that to separate, loop around to RelentlessOne, and from there, Shiva Tandava comes out. Heals come through, keeps GuyJ alive, and as soon as the end of days lands and GuyJ isn't dead, RelentlessOne immediately flips the camera around, runs straight back towards the enemy, and just creates so much space for Bayroneri to start free casting through the fight. The damage, unstoppable, so safe. Scorpions looked so convincing with their teamwork.
Yeah, it was a fantastic fight at the end. What they really, really needed as well, because it had been tough actually for the past few minutes. But Bayroneri quietly 7-1, got the triple kill at the end, but before then had just been playing, standard Janus style. You play a bit of utility, you dish out some decent chunks of damage, but got a fantastic snipe onto Hámmy as well in the middle of that whole game. Has to be pointed out. Hámmy had no clue, and I feel so bad for that. Bit of the Barracuda magnetism going on there for this this Yemoja. Yeah, but look, the Aaru Scorpions are in the driver's seat when it comes to the standings at the moment in the SEC, are slightly ahead, of course, 2-2 rather than 1-3. However, the Athenian Sages showed more than enough to fight back. So, we have game 2 coming up. I don't think this will be so simple for the Aaru Scorpions. And if you agree with that, please stick around as we go for a short break, but we will be back for game number 2. We are back, everybody, with the Aaru Scorpions versus the Athenian Sages. It was hard fought. It was back and forth. It was also only 35 minutes long, but the Aaru Scorpions eventually turned it around and did manage to win that game. But, Spooky, do the Athenian Sages actually have to change a whole lot going into this second game?
Yes. Yes, they do. Don't pick this Surtr again. It didn't do well. It didn't do actually anything. It didn't let Snaddy do what he needed to do in the lane phase. And because of that, that's how the Aaru Scorpions were able to get a lead. If you just pick something that has a stronger early game and can contest a little bit more in that solo lane, or even just stay more safe, I don't think that happens nearly quite so badly.
Well, let's see what they opt to do as we head on into picks and bans for game number 2. Now it will be the Athenian Sages' first pick. And Spooky, if you are the Athenian Sages here, we saw some interesting showings from a Shiva. Don't worry, Spooky, I'm not going to ask you what I said I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you, do you ban the Shiva if you are the Athenian Sages?
No, you don't ban it, and you don't first pick it, Judas. I don't know what's going on with you tonight. They just pick something that plays into it better. Maybe you save your solo lane pick until you see what the Scorpions are trying to run. There is a world where the Scorpions may run it back, but I think they only do that if the Sages select their solo first and they think it's a good matchup. If you leave open, like, Sun Wukong and decide to take that, I don't like that pick personally. You probably heard me complain about how overrated I think Sun Wu is, but it plays better than the Surtr does right now. So if that's what you're looking for, where's this Camazotz? I like that more, actually. I love that.
Yeah, Camazotz still has the flex potential, of course, of could be solo, but generally we do see it in the jungle. It also somewhat negates the potential for the Aaru Scorpions to pick up this Olorun. You know, it's this kind of tried and tested counter pick to an Olorun. So despite the Scorpions picking up this Yemoja and the River's Rebuke and Sanctified Fields combo being so strong, we will not be seeing it in this game. But Raijin comes on through. I've seen plenty of Raijin so far. Just a quick prediction, Spooky. Do you expect this one to go in the mid lane or in the solo lane?
I think it's open right now. I don't think they've decided whether they want to see it in mid or solo just yet. I think they're going to wait until they see a little bit more of the Sages draft before they do commit to either one. So here, I'd expect to see the ADC get picked up, maybe the jungler, if they know what this Camazotz is doing. But I think they're going to hold off on selecting either a mage or a solo laner until they see a little bit more of the draft. Now, what that does mean is that the Sages can't simply pick up like a Morgan Le Fay to try to counter the Raijin solo, or maybe not counter, but match the Raijin solo. So there's a little bit more flexibility in these drafts right now. Someone has to pull the trigger first. But what the Sages have, it's really only their solo and mid left. They have to choose one. That's going to determine where this Raijin goes.
I have seen it discussed lately that Kuzenbo provides this sort of anti-mage solo pickup because two mages cannot deal with the Kuzenbo. Just kind of does everything a mage doesn't want an opposing frontliner to do. So I can understand maybe the Aaru Scorpions being frightened off it at this point, which is fine. You are still more than happy with Raijin being put in the mid lane, and we've already seen them pick a warrior in the solo lane. But some interesting bans coming for the Sages. That's an Arachne and a Thanatos pair of bans. I don't know. Do they feel like they're specifically weak to those two gods here?
Killua's Fury!
I really don't even want to talk about those. I'll be honest. I don't want to talk about an Arachne ban. I don't know what's going on there. I think the Thanatos ban is a little bit more understandable in that it's a similar style to the Thor. However, Ratatoskr is also still on the table. So I feel like if you're worried about the semi-globals, you just ban the Ratatoskr instead. Unless you're looking to pick it up for yourselves. Aaru Scorpions opt for the Pele. So they go ahead and pick up the Rat for themselves. There's no way they run the Surtr back. There's absolutely no way.
No, they definitely don't. They have a Camazotz and a Ratatoskr. I actually think this might be... No way. Production, press the undo button, please. Yeah, I saw it flash. I know you can do that. Get rid of it. It doesn't belong here. It should not belong here. I think this does spice things up a little bit. Does that put this Camazotz into the mid-roll then?
I think it is definitely Camazotz in mid. Soul is going to be the ADC, Surtr over in the right lane. Which means I do think the Surtr is going up against the Raijin with the Pele mid to go against this Camazotz. Assassin versus Assassin. Matches the pressure and the kill potential a little bit more there. Also matches the rotational power of those Assassins. It's actually shaping to be a very interesting draft, and there's really only one portion I don't like. And yeah, you guessed it, it's the Surtr. I'm not happy about that one. I think he still just gets bullied by this Raijin. I don't think he has a great time into the ranged matchup. The tick damage from Raiju is just going to make him miserable while he's trying to sustain. This does not feel good for Snaddy.
Well, yet again, both teams have flicked through page 1 of the tier list and then just decided to rip it up for the rest of the draft. Let's see exactly how it lines up as we head on into game number 2. Now, keep in mind, this is the all-important do-or-die game for the Athenian Sages. They lose this game and they are finished for the year. That is their season over and done with. Aaru Scorpions have a game to play with, but surely they'd like to close it out in 2.
Yeah, I can't imagine the Scorpions have anything less than complete drive to end this game right here and now. They don't want to take any risks with a 3-game set. They'd much rather just play the best Smite they can play right here, right now, secure themselves a spot above the Sages. I don't think there's any other team that can knock the Scorpions out of their seeding right now.
Don't believe so.
So this is, like you said, this is do or die for the Sages. They have to be able to come back here. They've changed up their draft. That's not how you do it.
That's not a good start.
That's not a good start.
Look, it's not all about the start, you know? Look, they still get pressure, not punished.
Last game disagrees.
Look. Things are on the line. You know, we often like to talk about this because a lot of time you feel like you can make things up later, especially in a league play format. But this is it. This is the grand finals of the Athenian Sages, and they are down right now. They need to turn it around. It is not so easy to play perfectly. GuyJ getting wrestled back now. Might be in some danger, but some great blocking from Gino should prevent the kill. And my goodness, GuyJ almost fell down to the Kappa, but shall live to fight another wave.
Man, that is insane. So tragic for the Sages. It was such a good blink from Hámmy to get that early aggression off, put GuyJ in a bad spot, and the positioning from Doug was there to follow up on it. He knew that GuyJ was going to have to jump forward to get out of danger. Deny. This right side here. You see Migiiiii in the area, not likely to get too aggressive just yet, but if the Sages aren't careful, they could open themselves up for a potential gank. You know Grave is on the right side. Migiiiii knows he can has a little bit of room to play with right now. So far, it's just looking towards this mid lane. Nayhoo, no ult just yet.
Oh, can't leap away either. For fear of getting pulled
faster.
in. Does delay, though, and then it's fantastic there.
Brave
is looping around. This is a
Brave?
dangerous flank to go in for. There are minions nearby. Bayro, though, burns the beads, is fearful of this Ratatoskr. This is an extremely volatile 2v2 in mid, though. Assassins all across the board means that anything can happen at any time.
Yeah, crazy how we have a mage in this game and he's not in the mid lane whatsoever. DonutDoug. A bit of trouble there, but able to survive. You know, I feel like we haven't talked about DonutDoug and GuyJ really enough this set so far. These are two very big names in the scene. These are two very talented players. And I think that's the exact reason why we haven't said their names very much. Despite how much pressure is in these lanes that they're drafting, both of them are so talented, so knowledgeable about their matchups, that they're not stepping forward. They're not putting themselves in these positions to be taken advantage of, and they recognize what bad trades exist, and they just don't take them. It was a very quiet lane phase last game for the duo. I'd expect a little bit more of the same here. These are two very early focused gods. Anhur and Soul both incredibly good at the early trades. We'll have to see how this pans out for them.
Oh, Hámmy has been putting tons of pressure and will net a purple buff steal with a big chunk of minions going into that tower as well. So that's the first real win in this duo lane. Close, of course, to a kill early on. NotGeno goes for the secure back, but will not get it. And that's the kind of edge you need at the moment. The actual gold lead is significantly high, considering there have been no kills in the game so far. It's 600 gold in favor of the Sages. That's pretty good. It's pretty healthy if you are the Sages for how you want this game to go.
That's more than a first blood, actually.
Yeah.
Sages doing a good job playing their farm game, but also looking for their opportunities to play aggressively and strip farm away from the Scorpions. They recognize where things went wrong in game number 1 is a little bit too passive. They didn't have the tools they needed, but at the same time, we did see some of these invades come out early on in game 1 as well. The difference was Scorpions also had Migiiiiii playing very aggressively on that right side, really pushing to get RelentlessOne ahead. We haven't seen that same attention so far this game. We've seen him, pop up here and there, put a little bit of pressure into mid lane. We haven't seen those same aggressive invades, and that's why this gold lead is allowed to build up a little bit. It's not extremely high, but this one may fall. Oh, wow.
Big damage comes through. There's the taiko drums, but there is Migiiiiii on the rotation. There's Snaddy picking up the kill. One goes down, one goes up, and retreating his grave. No mana to work with. Migiiiiii cannot clean up the pieces. That's first blood to the Sages.
It's got to be a little bit more careful there, right? You're playing Raijin solo. You're not the tankiest guy in the game. It's not like game 1 where RelentlessOne could just walk at the enemy and not care about anything they did. Good pull. Out of hell will get Nayhoo out of this little bit of danger, though. And so the position has to be a little bit more cautious. You have to stand a little bit further back. Yes? Jeez. Just can't stop Hámmy, man. Like, if he's walking out above, you just got to acknowledge that it's his. You don't get to pull that away from him anymore. Like, you might as well just walk away, sign a waiver, and agree to giving it up at that point.
I'm just saying, when I play support, that doesn't happen. I don't know why that is. Well, I'm sure I am. I must be. Apparently not, because Hámmy is just playing it better right now. Geno is here to try to defend this next purple buffing invade, and GuyJ is around. Good pillar will disrupt things just a touch. That's a supernova committed. Now, DonutDoug in the River's Rebuke gets a good disapparate timing, but now in some danger. Oh no, the Riptide onto GuyJ. Geno pulls them out, and RelentlessOne gets killed off again. I feel like I saw this the last game, but this time the teams have been reversed.
I mean, this is exactly how you deal with these mage pickups. You have to come back to that Typhoon, going wide, hits absolutely nobody. Hámmy just pushes Migiiiiii away and denies them the opportunity. Yeah, good luck, buddy.
Hámmy.
That's Hámmy there. Good luck getting it. Yeah, what did I tell ya?
It just doesn't work. Migiiiiii actually in some danger. Good damage coming up from DonutDoug. GuyJ wants to brawl it back. You're right, though. Hámmy just owns this left-hand side. When it comes to junk ups, look at Nayhoo. Nayhoo knows this is happening. Blink over the wall. Gets the Vampire Bat slow. Leaping in. Has committed a touch, but will not be able to sweep up the kill, and Geno can do nothing about it. This kind of problem with Yemoja. Hold on, though. Bayroneri makes the rotation back onto Nayhoo. Does not have the bat out of hell just yet. Leaps for some distance. There's the volcanic lightning. It's 12 seconds too long for Nayhoo. That will be the first kill for the Aaru Scorpions, getting themselves on the board.
The Scorpions finally have an answer back after a series of, honestly, tough losses. Not severe losses, not game-breaking, but you watch Hámmy take 2 buffs away from you, prevent you from counter-invading. It's like, man, can I catch a break around here? Bayroneri, hero of the Scorpions right now, finally comes back. It's Nayhoo who puts him in the dirt. They gotta do a little bit more than that, right? They're still down in gold, about 1,000 right now. And this right side of the map has been a much bigger difference than game number 1, right? RelentlessOne, now on this Raijin, he's able to pressure Snaddy very effectively still, but due to being so much squishier, it's so easy for Grave to make these rotations and punish the fact that RelentlessOne is stepping forward and pressuring Snaddy out. There's so much more kill potential for the Sages. Now look for an invade. They finally get one! They finally get one!
Of course, Hámmy's on left. If Hámmy was on right, that one
would have been a different story.
Oh yeah, completely different story. You know, we're talking like
Didn't Hámmy
alternative
take the Fire
arc.
Giant too?
Possibly, actually. You know, that
Pretty sure
was...
it was River Rebuke.
It could well have been that. So this time, Aaru Scorpions take extra precaution, drag the purple buff away from its home, and shall find a secure that. I was waiting for a Kappa to just come flying out of nowhere.
Just ricochet off a wall.
I'm sure Hámmy is absolutely seething to see that go the way of the Scorpions. But that does go the way of the Scorpions, who have now had a small window of success. Still a 1.5k gold lead, but not a lot the Sages can do with it at the moment.
Yeah, we're still very early on in this game. Pyromancer hasn't spawned in yet. Too early to be looking at any Fury pulls. Right now, all the Sages can really do is keep pressuring these buffs. That's really all they should do. If they can stay on these timers and continuously make these invades to strip gold away from the Scorpions, they will continue building this lead. And that's how the Scorpions built their lead in game number 1. It didn't come from early objectives or cascading kills falling into their laps, but oh wow.
Geno! Oh, the Aaru Scorpions do steal it away with the Typhoon. The River's Rebuke comes out as well. Hámmy creating some space, but Migiiiiii is in the space on the backside. Grave dashed is in to more danger, and GuyJ shall sweep up a double kill. Hámmy can do nothing about that one. That is the Scorpions battling right back into this game.
Yeah, remember how I just said this is too early for any Fury pulls? That's why! It takes too long, you take a bunch of damage on it, and if the Scorpions come in, you've taken so much damage from that Fury, they just clean sweep you. And to add insult to injury, they take the Fury for themselves, completely delete the lead that the Sages have, and now this is back to an even state, but it doesn't feel even by any means. Because what this has done is it's swung the momentum. The pendulum has fallen back the other direction, and it's now on the Scorpion side. Sure, you were able to get some good early kills. Sure, you were able to make those aggressive plays and take those camps away. But now the Scorpions found themselves a very large win, and that puts fuel to their fire and allows them to step forward more confidently and start fighting back into these invades a lot more aggressively. Even game state is not existed in this game since, what, minute 2 for the Sages? They were building a lead very early on, and now it's all that work, the 10 minutes of work, just gone.
Just like that, in the blink of an eye, but the Sages are, of course, far from out of it, with both team compositions being the way that they are. I wouldn't say any stage of the game particularly favors either side either. If this game goes late, both teams are happy. This stage of the game currently around this mid-game area, I think both teams are quite happy to fight in it. So I'm expecting a few more fireworks. It will be a case of can either side establish yet another lead, and it's all going to be around this all-important first beacon spawn.
Yeah, it's going to be a very important place to fight at. And really, you know, I shouldn't criticize the Sages too much. Because as we've mentioned, this is a do-or-die situation for them. They have to look these aggressive plays and look to find advantages. And look at where Grave is. He's just trying to pressure RelentlessOne out, forcing the ultimate for absolutely nothing. Sages are still in the right headspace where they need to play this kind of aggressive style. If the Scorpions are trying to scale up, don't allow them that opportunity. Don't allow them to just group up around the beacon. Push someone out. Force any advantage you can get to get more numbers on this beacon. Now start leading things the way of the Sages. Hámmy pushing Geno away. Bayroneri trying to fight into it. Migiiiii on the way. It's a 3-on-3 around the beacon.
3-on-3 around the beacon, but DonutDoug making their way to this engagement. The beacon space has been occupied by the Sages, and they shall get it. Migiiiii dishes out decent damage, but now we'll have to retreat. GuyJ makes the long rotation over, but will just have to turn around themselves. So that first big beacon does go one way. RelentlessOne, it's just a matter of time. Tries to pick up some farm. Shall not get enough. Tier 1 tower in danger as well. Snaddy on the retreat because Migiiiii and Geno are on the way. But this is the strength of Surtr. This is what Snaddy picked his god for.
That was personal, Judas. He didn't need to go into the end of days. He was sending a message on that one, and I am here for it. I love that energy from Snaddy. Gets himself a kill. Puts the third one on the board for RelentlessOne, who, even though he is not having the best game right now, still pretty on level with Snaddy. Only just now falling a little bit behind him. By no means is this Raijin irrelevant just yet. And we talked about how effective Snaddy can be on the Surtr, even when he's falling behind, just due to the effectiveness of the ultimate. The same is somewhat true for this Raijin. Now, it's not going to be doing a ton of damage, but look at his build. He's not going for a ton of damage. He's looking for the taunts, for the fears, for the pure CC that the taiko drums can output in a fight to disrupt things. By no means is this 0-3 slash line a nail in the coffin for the Scorpions. And I think the Sages also recognize that, and that's why they're still putting some attention over there. They're still forcing RelentlessOne out and not really allowing him to rotate too much. That said, he doesn't like it in this lane, so he's going to start taking some steps out of it either way. He can be less effective or more confined to this side of the map. Sages have better fights looking their way.
Look at how far RelentlessOne has to ward just to prevent the rotations from Grave. Now, the Scorpions are aware that Grave is nearby. It does mean that they have to respond somehow. This Pyromancer is now seeming to take the attention of the Athenian Sages. They have a big grouping over here. RelentlessOne is so far stepped up. I'm not sure they're aware of the danger they are in. Grave puts out some decent damage. Goes into the taiko drums before trying to Thunder Crash away. Actually just wants to take the fight. It's never going to go your favor. Doesn't even dash that far, and that will be the life of RelentlessOne here. Scrap in the mid lane, 2v3 in favor of the Scorpions, but they cannot find anything and still cannot punish all of the focus on RelentlessOne.
I still don't know why RelentlessOne stepped up there. It's like you said, the focus has been on him. He knows he's being aggressed on consistently. Hámmy now also in some danger. Has to go into the watery grave. Avoids the Typhoon, but through the Cosmos. Not going to be jumping down on anyone right now. Oh, the Pyromancer pulled instead. Sages on the front foot of this one here, Judas.
Snaddy's in. It's tight. Not sure which way the Scorpions want to go here. The Pyromancer is a tough objective for the Sages to take with so much on the way. Like we mentioned, the mid pairings are so volatile that you don't really want to take a disadvantaged fight if you can. Snaddy has tons of room to work with now. RelentlessOne is forced to farm as far back as they can because you're just not safe anywhere at the moment. And I think this does open up a lot of spaces for the Sages to work with, but they do have to start taking these objectives to really push this lead, which they have again reestablished.
Yeah, they're doing a good job of just passively building up a lead. 1,800 now, pushing very close to that 2K mark. We haven't seen really much success in the fight so far. The Sages have been finding a lot of success by looking for invades, looking for those small 2-on-2, 3-on-3 skirmishes, or in RelentlessOne's case, the constant 2-on-1s. But the 5-on-5 we did see, the actual team fight around that Gold Fury went very effectively in favor of the Scorpions. Now, we should again mention that that is because the Sages were taking a lot of damage from an early Gold Fury, so they were not the healthiest when the Scorpions came in. So far, neither team is really committed to an actual grouping. And you have to wonder if that's just by design. There's a lot of assassins in this game. Assassins do excel in the pick-off potential. Scorpions have drafted Yemoja and Raijin. They want these team fights. They can't be getting caught out like this. Migiiiiii burns the bees through the cosmos coming in.
A lot of ability. It's already expended by Migiiiiii. That's a nice beads from Grave. Dashing away is Migiiiiii. Grave gives chase. Grave shall get the kill. And that was a big setup. A lot of time committed to try and pick off GuyJ from the Sages, but ended up just turning it on to Migiiiiii. Now, full rotation from Snaddy over to this left-hand side. Tier 1 tower under duress, fighting over by the mid lane, actually. RelentlessOne having to Thunder Crash away. Now the Athenian Sages have to turn this into a Gold Fury if they really want to make something of it, because the Pyromancer is being done by the Scorpions.
Yeah, they've got Snaddy over here. Do some zone work. DonutDoug's going to be able to shred through this Primal Fury, no problem. Got to keep an eye out, Geno, on the way. But his name isn't Hámmy, so this doesn't mean anything just yet.
Not quite yet, and in fact the focus will go on to this Yemoja. Nayhoo dashes on deep. Hámmy comes through with the blink as well. That is a very, very dead Yemoja, and that is another pair of kills. A big gold lead now for the Sages. Another beacon for the Sages. It's a consolation runic bomb for the Aaru Scorpions, but this is not a position they would like to find themselves in.
I still understand why you're going to step up to that Fury if you're not willing to drop the River's Rebuke for it. The Moonblast, the Moonbeam isn't going to be securing anything, not against 4 people. If you really want to push the Sages away from that, you have to commit the ult. And either way, it's a tough call to make, because this 1-on-4 is really not ever going to favor the Scorpions. But they're playing a lot differently from Game 1, Judas. We're not seeing the grouping coming out. We're not seeing the team play that we saw that won them Game number 1. Instead, they're constantly splitting the map. They're making these solo plays. Migiiiii's getting caught out, looping around the Gold Fury pit by himself with no help from his team. And you just have to wonder what the game plan is there.
Yeah. Not sure I'm seeing it yet, but Grave is seeing a little bit of danger in their future, so we'll retreat out. That's a Kappa being thrown into a Riptide there. That's an interesting little interaction. But Nayhoo has quietly done plenty of work on this Camazotz as being a real threat. Is top damage outside of the solo lane, and we know that solo lane damage doesn't really count, so
fake numbers. Basically
big numbers in the mid lane coming out from Nayhoo, but also Hámmy quietly very high up there in the damage numbers. This Kuzenbo has just been a real problem, but will this Kuzenbo maybe fall off later on? Is that what the Aaru Scorpions are really banking on, maybe finding a window later in the game?
I don't know that the Scorpions really find a window later on. Because I know we talked about how these teams both do well in the later stages of the game, but I really personally favor the Sages draft simply for the engagement opportunities that they have. They have Snaddy with the End of Days, Grave with Through the Cosmos. Nayhoo can engage and disengage for free on this Camazotz. And you look over at the Scorpions, what do they have? They've got Geno. They've got the River's Rebuke. That's really what they're relying on around these fights. All they can really do is look for the counter engagements. And it's tough for them. Bayroneri doesn't have the same impact on this Pele as he did on the Janus. He's a little bit more confined on what he can do. He can't just free cast from over walls and just blast people down. He's got to be in vision, getting in there, and that has to be facilitated by the rest of the team, which frankly, I don't know how they do it. RelentlessOne being 0-4 and 2 levels down, he's not in a position to be thunder crashing in, then hopping up into the taiko drums to give him a little beat to dance to. It's a tough look for the Scorpions right now. They can see that this wind has shifted. The Sages can feel it in their sails. They're pushing forward. They're stripping these objectives down one by one. Tier 1 falls. The Sages push their gold lead a little bit further now. Above the 4K mark.
It's a curious one here. Because the Sages...
So Welsh of you. It's a curious one.
I mean, I'll take that. There's a lot of worse things.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Anyway, 21 minutes into this game, and the Athenian Sages have a solid lead, but not an outstanding lead. The Aaru Scorpions had a bigger lead in game number 1. And around this phase of the game was actually when we saw the Scorpions take their first fire. The Athenian Sages, though, are they in a position to look at this major objective right now? It really doesn't feel like it, despite the success they've had so far.
I feel like they stepped up to any objective they want to right now. Scorpions have done a terrible job of answering them. And look, Snaddy is just completely pressuring the Scorpions away by himself. Setting up that Pyromancer now. Might be in a little bit of trouble here. No, what am I talking about? Look at all the damage that was put into him. Look at all the people that tried to hurt him. And he's just laughing his way back to the tier 1 tower. He's still stepping up because he just doesn't care right now. So little damage has been done to him. He's such an effective frontline. I think the Sages can really just do whatever objective they want to look at right now. If they want to do the Fire Giant, Scorpions have not done a good job of answering them. The only thing they have to worry about is Genos and the River Rebuke. So all they have to do is force him out, kill him, and they're all set.
Oni Fury low, Snaddy going onto the back line alongside Grave, though. Big damage and up to the sky goes two frontliners looking for GuyJ on this Anhur. Nice Aegis Amulet, but you can't immune all of the things falling from the sky. There's also Nayhoo on this. Camazotz swept through the Aaru Scorpions there of the Athenian Sages. They don't even need the Oni Fury. They take a fantastic fight. It's just Bayroneri and Geno. Nayhoo is still lurking around, and Bayro has committed themselves forward. Has the Volcanic Lightning on out. Still maybe giving chase on the Sages, but they're looking at the Fire Giant instead.
This is just so tough. I'll be honest. I like Bayroneri a lot more on the burst mages, whether it's artillery or assassin like Janus. It just feels like Bayroneri does not have the room to do what he needs to do in these fights right now. He's doing a good job positioning and surviving, but he has no in opportunity. Now Sages gets to walk right over to the Fire Giant, and this is off the back of just a stuffed Fury fight from the Scorpions.
Oh, Bayro.
Oh my god, Snaddy.
Grave comes through, sweeps down Bayroneri. No artillery mage, so to speak of here. So that is just another death for the Aaru Scorpions. And 10 kills to 3 now. The Athenian Sages actually in a much better position now than the Aaru Scorpions were in game number 1. Snaddy still running at RelentlessOne, and there is not a whole lot that the Scorpions can do to stop this Surtr at the moment. It turns out Surtr's just cracked. Geno getting cracked by Grave right now. DonutDoug sweeping in, just about surviving is the Yemoja, but when your support has to be peeled for like that, it's just not a good look. And now the Sage is looking at this Phoenix.
Yeah, RelentlessOne being shown who the RelentlessOne is. Snaddy leading the charge. This Phoenix is gone, Typhoon. It's a few, but I don't think they have a fight after this.
Look at the disengage. It's fantastic. Everyone just takes off and then literally takes off. It doesn't mean that the Scorpions can do anything. Everyone's just in the air. You can't do anything about that. The Oni Fury is still standing. The Aaru Scorpions seem like they want to fight this. I'm not sure they should. They've just got to take and accept this loss at the moment, because nothing's going right for them anywhere at the moment.
I'll be honest. I hate this term. I hate this phrase quite a lot, because almost every time you hear it dropped, it's completely wrong. But this really truly does feel like a draft difference right now. The Scorpions just don't have the tools they need to deal with what the Sages are throwing at them. Snaddy is too tanky right now, and the Scorpions don't have anyone really to shred through that. GuyJ can't get on top of him and put the DPS down because he's being pressured by Nayhoo and Grave, who get to dive completely for free. And even if they're not the ones diving for free, Snaddy will be. Like, there's just so many ways for the Sages to get into the Scorpions' backline without having to walk through any of the front line. There's nothing the Scorpions can do really to stop it. They can't throw up the River's Rebuke because they just go over the walls. Sages right now, this is their game to lose. They've gotten all their pieces in place. The Surtr's looking much better here in game number 2. RelentlessOne on this Raijin just is not having the performance he needs right now. Build isn't dealing with these tanks. Snaddy's taking negative damage from the Raijin at this point. Some flat pen is not getting you far enough on this one. The Scorpions just need to, just feels like what you said, is think about what went wrong here and just prepare for the next game. Now, it's still possible for the Sages to make some mistakes. They can dive too deep, and if the Scorpions can lure them into that, they can bait the Sages into a bad dive and separate them. Okay, now you've got some pieces working for you. But the way it's been so far is the Sages have been stepping forward to something And the Scorpions look at it, look at the objective, they look at the numbers, they look at the gold lead, and they've been saying, yeah, we could win that fight. And they don't win that fight.
Yeah, not a fight to be taken here for the Scorpions, including this upcoming Fire Giant as well. I don't think there's really much the Scorpions can do. This right side tier 2 will get pressured out. Right side Phoenix under duress, actually, because GuyJ's all the way off in left lane. Snaddy doing whatever they want in the whole backline of the Scorpions. RelentlessOne has to burn the ultimate, as does Geno, but the Phoenix is already gone. Now dashing forward. The rest of the Sages dunking down his grave. Bayroneri the target. Bayroneri killed off first. RelentlessOne dishing out whatever damage they can, but it's not a whole lot from this Raijin. Phoenix minions bearing down the mid lane. Right lane minions pouring in as well. Looks like the Sages are happy with their bounty so far, and the Aaru Scorpions base broken wide open.
Look at the health bars from the Sages right now. This is my exact point that I was making earlier. They have taken nothing. Right, the squishiest one there is Grave, and he's got Bloodforge and Serrated Edge. So, what are you really doing to him at this point? You could put the damage in; he's going to heal it right back up. Gold lead is just exploded to 13k. The Scorpions don't have the damage to push the Sages back. The Sages will simply keep walking at them, and frankly, it's an ironic name, given how they're playing the game so far, because there's no thinking to be had here. They're just pressing the W key and watching the funny numbers go up in their favor. Look at Snaddy!
Snaddy is literally W keying onto RelentlessOne, who W keys right back to be fair to them, but does not take the better of that trade. The Fire Giant space has been blasted open. It's a minute and a half until Enhanced Fire Giant. I do wonder if there's even a consideration for the Sages to wait for it, but the mid lane Phoenix has already spawned for the Aaru Scorpions. They are taking their time, the Sages. It is a minute 10 seconds. I do wonder if they're going to wait, but no, with Nayhoo coming in, this looks like a full commit, and it looks like instead the Sages will look to barrel this through. There's going to be a tough defense for the Scorpions because, as we discussed, momentum is very important in this game, and not only in this particular game, but for the set, if you go up 1-0 and then go to 1-1, you're not going to be feeling good if you're the Scorpions.
I don't think they should take this too roughly. As like I said, I feel like this is a very clear case of them just not drafting the tools they needed to deal with what the Sages were putting down on the board. They got their chess pieces, they set them up, and they realized they had all pawns. The Sages had like 2 rooks and 3 queens, and they realized that they weren't playing the same game at that point. There's back to the drawing board, but before they get there, still have time to dig their heels in. Potentially find something here. This is a good River's Rebuke.
Fantastic River's Rebuke actually locks in Hámmy. Mid lane Phoenix under pressure as well. Grave is in the air. Snaddy creating so much space, and Bayroneri falls down. Ratatoskr picking up a kill there, but gets traded back. Nayhoo up to the sky, has to retreat. Snaddy also takes to the sky and has to retreat. That is 2 Fire Giants off the board for the Athenian Sages, and the Aaru Scorpions should be happy with how that defense went.
It could have gone a lot worse. That could have been a game ender right there. Now, Scorpion's still looking to push forward, find a little bit more. DonutDoug doesn't connect with that slow, but has to separate. They're going to back off. So they're going to go back to this Primal Fury. Try to get an objective in favor of the Scorpions here. I think this might be their second Fury this game, as they stole away the first one. Still, not the best look. 12-5. You've shown that you can dig your heels in and you can defend the line where it counts. A very good ult from Geno. Took a little bit of a misstep from Hámmy as well. But if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. You take what you can get here. So 2 birds down. Sages, 15,000 gold in the lead. And the Thorns of Sapping Strength come out from Hámmy. That's so BM. Oh my god.
Look, it's Kuzenbo. Kuzenbo has been doing Kuzenbo things. And that's what you need, because Aaru Scorpions...
Hámmy's out-damaging GuyJ.
Kuzenbo is crazy, you know. Look, the Aaru Scorpions are maybe buying themselves just enough time. They are almost at full build. I've even seen a couple of power potions come through. Looks like the Sages actually want to re-engage on this left-hand side, creating space for the right-hand side, because Nayhoo is over there,
Oh my God,
dishing out the
Nayhoo.
damage onto RelentlessOne and getting the kill. There's a lot of minions in. There's the Runic Bomb to secure that right side Phoenix. Left side Phoenix in some danger as well. It's Migiiiiii against DonutDoug and Hámmy. You have quite a lot of damage. Nice Typhoon to create some
Great.
space, and that is all. Phoenix is down now for the Aaru Scorpions. Grave has to retreat. Bayroneri has to retreat. Big damage coming through. Nayhoo leaping out. Migiiiiii gives chase. Fantastic River's Rebuke, and that will be the all-important pick. But the base is now wide open. All three Phoenixes reset for a long time, and Enhanced Fire Giant is on the way. But somehow, Scorpions still in it.
Scorpions are still in it, but it's like you've said, they've just bought themselves a little bit of time. This is a 99%er here. You're at a more than 10k deficit. All three Phoenixes broken, sitting in ruins, smoking and waiting to be revived. Enhanced Fire Giant on the way. Now, Scorpions will have all five up before the Sages have them. So, if they are looking for a play, try to make an aggressive one, but their time is so limited due to those fire minions. They're going to be pushing in on all three lanes. They don't have a real window to make these aggressive plays, to use their numbers advantage. Nayhoo 5 seconds out. All the Scorpions can really do is try to group up around this fire giant. As soon as the Sages step up, you can bet the Scorpions will be falling back. They've got stingers, they've got claws. Right now, they're just for show.
Now, we did see there the Scorpions setting up for the classic play of just grouping up and find a cheap pick, but it was Hámmy who they encountered, and that is the absolute last target you want to see. So that will be the end of the excursion for the Aaru Scorpions. The mid lane Phoenix is respawning, and RelentlessOne has done a good job of pushing out a lot of these lanes to just buy that little bit more time. But now the time has come for the Athenian Sages to make their play, or for the Scorpions to battle on back. All going to be important who gets the initial engagement. That's a Riptide down from Geno. Snaddy goes straight onto Migiiiiii. There's the River's Rebuke burned, a massive cooldown off the table. Taiko
so
drums come out
separated.
as well. RelentlessOne has no one to protect them now. Nayhoo's up into the sky, swiping down this Raijin. Migiiiiii now on the retreat. Grave closes the distance and kills them off. The Aaru Scorpions have dropped to key members, and now Nayhoo wants to go in, deflected away by GuyJ, but Snaddy is dishing out the damage onto this Anhur. They're battling back, actually. Bayroneri putting out some pretty good damage, but Grave will pick up the kill. Hámmy locking down these two damage dealers, and the minions are now pouring in. It's just Geno alive.
Geno can't do it. He doesn't have the wave clear he needs, and the rest of the Sage is going to come pouring on in. You can try to survive, but for how long can you do it?
Now Geno just trying to get back to base. Grave says no and puts them in their namesake. The Titan goes down. Spooky, we are going to a game number 3. It all comes down to this final matchup for who will be progressing to the World's Qualifiers.
I told you, didn't I? Didn't I tell you after game one?
You did.
See, sometimes I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, man, it's just a lack of percent pen coming out from the Scorpions, right? They just don't have enough of it. I mean, look at the builds. You see Titan's Banes as the last items there. You see dominance on GuyJ. But RelentlessOne has 15 flat pen. And it's coming out from the Divine Ruin there. And that's about it. Snaddy can just walk at them for free the entire time. And the positioning has just really not been very good from RelentlessOne in this game. He steps way far forward, completely separates himself from the rest of his team, and then Nayhoo just looks at him and says, oh, this is just a free kill, isn't it? Great. Pick that off. And then the rest of the team just collapses in on the Scorpions, pushes them back, and GuyJ does a great job of trying to keep that fight alive, trying to put the damage out. They lost track of Grave, Judas, and that's really what just doomed their defense. As soon as Grave came in from the back, it was wraps for the Scorpions.
Well, It was a wrap for game 1.
Said, "Aw,
It's now a
nuts."
wrap for game number 2. Will it be a wrap for game number 3? Well, it will eventually. I just wonder who will come out on top of that wrap. Do not go anywhere if you are ready to see a For All the Marbles matchup, just a straight up best of one. Be ready for it. Call your friends, call your parents, because this one will not be one to be missed. We go for a short break. We'll be back for the all important game 3.
Gate number 6 is being
All right, I hope you've got your drinks. I hope you've got your snacks because it is time for that all-important game. It was a good game 1 by the Aaru Scorpions, and it was a good game 2 by the Athenian Sages. It is a clash of monumental proportions, Spooky, and we are here to witness it.
You didn't tell me to get a drink between games. Mine is empty.
Well, it's just because we've had so much action to call, and we're going to see a bit more as we head on in to picks and bans for game number 3. It has been, I cannot understate this, a really great back and forth set. It is rare that we see teams look so strong against each other. No side has had it easy. We have had long games. I'm not sure exactly when that previous game finished, but it was after 30-minute mark yet again. It was 35 minutes, I believe, in the first game. It's not an easy fought victory at all. And, I mean, whoever comes out on top of this has absolutely earned that third place spot.
I'm not going to say they haven't been good games, but I'm not going to say the Sages didn't have a pretty easy one there in game 2. The Scorpions just didn't feel like they were responding to anything past that first Fury until it was far too late for them to start doing anything. I think all the Scorpions really need to do is be a little bit more proactive in this early game, and things go a lot better for them. That said, there are a couple draft issues I think they need to address as well. If the Sages are going back to this Surtr in the solo lane, I don't think that the Scorpions can go back to this Pele. It didn't really get to play into the Camazotz very well. It did absolutely nothing against the Surtr. Now Yemoja, first pick for the Scorpions. So, I actually like that a lot. The successes that the Scorpions had did come from Geno on this Yemoja specifically. And if the Athena is banned away, there's no reason not to put him back on something that he's been performing extremely well with. They've recognized this as a strong point in their drafts. Keep with it. It also leaves a lot open. It doesn't give a whole lot away for their draft. Sage is going to go ahead and pick up Baba and Sol. That's most likely mid and ADC. We haven't really seen a ton of Babas in the solo lane. The Scorpions have some room to play with. They've got some knowledge they can play with. I wouldn't hate to see them pick up a Ratatoskr for themselves here. They know what backline they're diving into. We'll have to see what they want to do on her. I don't hate it. GuyJ looked good.
Yeah, a lot of constants we're seeing. We've seen Yemoja every game from Geno. We've seen Sol every game from DonutDoug. But what we haven't seen at all is Tiamat and Bayroneri staking the rest of their season on this Tiamat pickup. Now, we haven't seen a lot of Tiamat, but why do you think that might be?
I'm going to call this a Tiamat solo.
Really?
I'm not 100% sold on it, but with the prevalence of mages in the solo lane right now, I think Tiamat is one of the better ones you could be throwing over there. We don't see her a lot, but she's naturally tanky. She has good range, great utility, and she can get in there, Judas. If you need your solo laner in a fight, she'll jump in there, hit that 4-key, get those damage mitigations online, and she can be a terror in there. Lots of disruption. I think this is also a good bait pick to make the Sages think that this is the solo laner, or the mid laner, I'm sorry, for the Scorpions. I think there's some surprises to be had on this one.
Yeah, I think the Sages might have smelled it out, though, because that Kuzenbo pickup, like we mentioned, Kuzenbo pretty good at the moment at dealing with a double mage setup. There's not a lot that mages can do to fight back against them. Now, we did see in the very end of the previous game, that GuyJ's Anhur can shred through the front line of the Sages if given the opportunity. It was just too hard to create that opportunity in the second game, and we do see Surtr banned out. The Scorpions have had enough of Snaddy's Surtr, so I do wonder how they will respond, and that is the Sun Wukong. One of your favorite
just less
picks
interesting.
Spooky. Less interesting Surtr. We'll go with that.
It's so much more boring than the Surtr. Like, how are you going to ban the Surtr here after absolutely wrecking it in game number 1? Like, if that's your concern, let him pick it and go back to your Shiva. It did so well.
Challenge.
Banning it out instead, I'm just not the
guy.
biggest fan of it. We do see the Amma coming out. It's not bad. It's a good pick. It's a solid pick. It's always pretty good. Princess Tiamat will be in the mid lane. I was wrong. I'm sad about that. I'm sad about being wrong. But I'm liking the draft we're seeing from the Scorpions. If you're going to pick Tiamat, allow it to do a little bit more damage. You can stay very safe. And right now, don't see a whole lot of pressure coming out from the Sages. Yes, Sunwoo can get into a backline a little bit harder than the Surtr. And I think part of the reason they do ban that Surtr out is they can facilitate this channel-style backline. Anhur wants to channel the Desert Fury. Tiamat needs to channel for the Primordial Blast to do any effective damage. So you need a little bit more space there. You can see the Sun Wukong coming at you. You can respond to that a little bit more effectively. This Naja, it's alright. I'm not sure how it fits into the rest of this draft. There's no real big burst to follow it up on the landing. I think we're more likely to see this Naja go up into the Windfire Wheels and actually come back down into Reverse Rebuke.
Well, that might just be what happens. Rather than speculate, let's go and spectate as we head on into game number 3. Now, I actually quite like this Naja pickup personally, Spooky, because one thing I've seen a lot of Lancelot pickups as a result of is drafts coming through that do not have that instant stun. Now, the only stun on the side of the Athenian Sages when the Lancelot was picked up was Snaddy with the Tiger form. And if you are trying to Tiger form a Lancelot, that's going to be very funny and very ineffective. But the Armillary Sash from Grave completely negates that. Now, all of a sudden, Migiiiiii does not have the freedom of the map to work around and actually has to be very wary of where Grave is. It almost doesn't matter that the Windfire Wheels isn't so effective because the general play for this Naja can go so well.
It is an effective counterpick into the Lancelot. We do have to give him that. However, I think the plan for that is that the Scorpions just put Migiiiiii on the opposite side of the map that Grave is on. Choose a place to play through. It's not going to be solo anymore, right? Like, the Scorpions cannot play through solo. They've got a Sun Wukong over there playing against them. Their solo laners and Amaterasu takes a little bit of time to come online. Probably not killing too many people there. And with that knowledge, Grave should be able to respond, go to the left side of the map as well. But it's a tough call to make, right? Do you want to go to the same side that the enemy jungler is on and just match his pressure? Or do you want to try to abuse RelentlessOne and get Snaddy ahead again? Because we saw how effective that was in game 2 there, where they just continuously ganked RelentlessOne, put him in the dirt, forced him to fall behind, so that Snaddy could do Snaddy things, and he just became a behemoth that the Scorpions could not deal with. I don't think this is nearly as easy as just saying, oh, well, Grave can just focus the same side as Migiiiiii. There's a lot of nuance to be had here. I have to see how they decide to approach things. Grave is the first one on this left side.
Yep, Grave making the rotation for this shield buff. Naja, of course, pretty good at contesting with these buffs because that universal ring toss, if you get it caught between yourself and the buff you're trying to steal from a Naja, it is never going to go your way. Now, Geno steps up to its Snaddy, though. Very low health already, so Migiiiiii does seem to put out some pressure. It looks like Geno did actually steal that buff away. Gets away with a Riptide, but there's an Armillary Sash, and there's shots coming out from DonutDoug. An easy, simple first blood, and exactly the start the Sages would have been looking for.
And that was actually the Shell. Geno used Shell, trying to buy himself a little bit more time. And frankly, I'm not sure if that's the most effective use of that relic this early on. I think he was pretty much dead to rights regardless there. Now it's just a little bit more of an advantage for the Sages over here in this dual lane. And that's something that they really cannot be allowed to have if the Scorpions want to continue forward here. We've seen how effective they can be with a lead. The Scorpions need to be a little bit more careful, but still early on in this game. I say that, but there's already a gold lead in favor of the Sages. That's one in some trouble.
Oh no, one stun followed by another stun. Grave shows up and has a huge impact on this solo lane. I was wondering how much the Sages would focus here because you can't run as much with a Wukong as compared to a Surtr, but already an easy pickup. The ammo goes down, and Hámmy again harassing at this purple buff. GuyJ, look how long this is taking. Meanwhile, DonutDoug just pushing minion waves into the tower. Hámmy does not get the steal this time, but GuyJ loses out on a ton of farm.
He doesn't get the steal because GuyJ had to put an obelisk in his face to prevent the Kappa from coming out. Hámmy is just such a problem for the Scorpions, buying so much time around these camps.
Do it.
I really feel like Migiiiii needs to have some pressure over here.
No, not this time.
Okay, not this time. This time Hámmy is not the buff burglar. But it does feel like Migiiiii needs to have a little bit more pressure over here to try to keep these camps, on his dual lane side. Because the way it is right now, they're losing so much XP, so much gold by allowing these minions into the tower. Not this one. This is dash caught there. Good ult though. Turns around to Grave. Make sure the stun comes through and lets him walk away from that one. Still, Sage is being very aggressive. The blink comes through. And it's just non-stop pressure.
So low so far is NotGeno. Really struggling against this Soul, and RelentlessOne forced into the dazzling offensive. That just means they're under more pressure. Pressure is the name of the game for these early stages, and right now the Athenian Sages is getting it everywhere. Exactly. That is Smite. Smite is pressure. And Migiiiii might be feeling the pressure if they can't have an impact. Trying to back to base here. But that surely has to engage. Grave is on the hunt. DonutDoug's all alone, though. Gets locked in the Rivers of Rebuke.
DonutDoug in some trouble here. Grand Joust comes through, and the Windfire Wheels could be waiting, but the beads come through early.
Oh, fantastic. Somehow saving the life of DonutDoug is great, but can they save their own life? Great Shell comes out, and also Bayroneri on the rotation. GuyJ gets the return kill. That's what the Scorpions needed at the moment, and, well, that's what they need. It's as simple as that. They need to get themselves into this game because somehow you have to relieve the pressure.
Yeah, but keep an eye on that mid lane as well. Nayhoo that whole time just shoves the entire mini wave in. And really, the Sages haven't lost a lot off of that. They're still leading by almost 2,000 gold. 5.5 minutes into the game, by the way.
Crazy.
Don't know how those numbers came up. But Sages, it's just this constant aggression. Geno is caught. The watery grave is a grave indeed. Deep, dark, and wet. Geno is going to be sinking down for a while. Sages just have so much aggression around these camps.
Oh, man.
Bayroneri!
Bayroneri gets the leap. Nayhoo gives chase. Grave also wants to give chase. Does not, though, commit the Windfire Wheel because they didn't have it just yet. That surely would have been a dead Tiamat. I think the Sages are just playing at a pace that the Scorpions can't contend with at the moment.
No, because the early game aggression that the Scorpions have is GuyJ and Geno. That's their early pressure. And what they're doing is they're leaving these two on an island while the Sages constantly invade them. Migiiiii has taken a very long time to show up over there. It finally does, and they get a kill onto Grave, but it's only after the Sages get a 2k gold lead. If you want to be able to scale into this game, you have to facilitate where you're strong. And in this early game, it's all about GuyJ and Geno, and the Sages are recognizing that far more effectively than the Scorpions are. That's why you see so much attention being put to that purple buff and that shield buff, making sure that the Scorpions cannot get any XP advantage over there. Migiiiii is left trying to find some kind of scraps, tries to put the pressure onto Snaddy. Unfortunately for them, that's Sun Wukong. He doesn't die, like ever. That's why you pick the Sun Wukong. And it just feels like the Scorpions are restricting their own options. By their own hands, are deciding to allow their best early game to fall behind.
Well, Snaddy and RelentlessOne can continue to duke it out over this totem. And I think now the Amaterasu has somewhat survived the early game. Of course, did fall down. Now feels confident enough to just burn the dazzling offensive and trade ults on this right-hand side. So I think that Soul lane has cooked to the point of simplicity. At the moment, we're going to be a long way away from seeing any action over there. Which does...
I haven't even thought about that lane.
Yeah, there's not going to be a lot happening there, let's be honest. But that does simplify the job for Migiiiii. Mid lane at the moment, stalemate. Solo lane, stalemate. This dual lane is where the action is going to be. The rest of this game will be made or broken on this side. Now, Hámmy, more than aware of this, and is duking it out with Migiiiii as this purple buff is spawning again. Look at the rotation from the Sages. They're already here. They're ready for the action. Grave forces the Grand Joust out of Migiiiii in an instant, and that's another successful invade on the Chaos side.
Yeah, Migiiiii really said, hey guys, this purple buff is your problem. I'm out. Grand Jousted straight to the other side of the map. Now, it's just one more buff falling away from the Scorpions, going to the Sages. And this feels like shades of Game 2 here, Judas, where the Scorpions are just playing very quietly, very passively, and the Sages are saying, okay, let's get ourselves a lead then. Let's go ahead and find all the gold that we can, all the XP we can, and the Scorpions are not willing to challenge them on it. Like, okay, great, you're over here. Wow. A crazy interaction. I didn't see that one coming.
I mean, it's tough. Is this just the Lancelot pick? Is the Lancelot pick maybe not what's needed here? It makes some sense on paper, but I'm really not seeing a lot shine through at the moment.
It really feels like this draft doesn't come together super well right now. If you want to make use of the Lancelot, you have to have damage there to help him out. You gotta have some CC to help him out. He doesn't have really a bunch of hard CC on his own. He's got the up-down route off the horse, and that's about it. You got your little knockup. That's not really locking anyone down for very long. So, where do you go? In my mind, and I feel like a broken record for saying this so many times, I'm not really adding much new information here, it's the duo lane. Like, that's your play point. That's where you're strongest.
Why didn't you say so?
If you want this Lancelot to do something, it's got to be on the left side. Bayroneri isn't online yet. The Tiamat will do work. Make no mistake. I don't dislike this Tiamat pick for Bayroneri, but it takes time. It takes some items. And even once you have those items, you know, it's a channeled ability is your primary damage output. It's not instant, and GuyJ has to instantly burn the beads.
It's the beads. Gets a good impale, though. Getting pushed into some danger. Desert Fury comes out. It is just Grave and Hámmy here. And Migiiii's here to sweep up. Gets the Grand Joust and finds the shot. Nayhoo on the rotation in, but a great pillar shall keep GuyJ alive. Look at the duo lane having a positive outcome for the Scorpions. Nayhoo in some danger, has to blast off. Hámmy gets caught. Fantastic use of the blink there on reaction. And it looks like that's that for now. But finally, the Aaru Scorpions secure a purple one for themselves.
Just look at this guy. GuyJ is so crazy. He is cracked right now. He had no business surviving that. He had the dip, the duck, the bob, the dodge, and the weave. Like, just written on his shoes. And he said, no problem. Migiiiii picks up a kill, gets some value out of this duo lane. Now he finds a solo kill. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. But Migiiii's finally giving some aggression over to this left side. Purple buff goes the way of the Scorpions. But here's the thing. Sages have a 3k gold lead right now, Judas.
Yeah.
This has not been mitigated whatsoever. It's a good step in the right direction, but you gotta keep it going. I want to see the Scorpions put some attention over towards these camps. Try to get some counter invades off. Try to look for some blue buffs. We haven't really seen Migiiiii be aggressive on the enemy camps. And I think part of that is to your point. This is unfortunate for the Scorpions, isn't it? Look at the Sages taking the Fury. Playing on the left side.
Left side of the map, very important, you know? It's that 12-minute mark we've been discussing. First beacon has now spawned. Snaddy has made the long rotation over, but recently picked up a solo kill, so I don't think they'll be too disappointed to miss out on any farm there. There's just not a lot that the Scorpions can do about it now. They've given so much space to the Sage's side on this left side of the map. Migiiiii makes a big rotation to the speed buff, finds that it's gone, and there is just nothing available for this Lancelot.
So, I think this is partially, like I was saying, to your point, where Grave does have a very effective way of getting Lancelot off of this horse. Mm-hmm. And so, he's hesitant to go and look for these blue buff invades, or these speed buff invades. But that's not where Grave has been spending most of his time. Grave has been doing a very good job of facilitating his duo lane in looking for these purple buff invades. Migiiiii so far has just been kind of quiet in the game. He has a kill, he has an assist. He's not doing nothing, make no mistake. But he hasn't really been finding the value of this Lancelot. If you're going to be playing slower like this, and more cautiously, I do think that this Lancelot maybe isn't the exact pick you needed. And Snaddy is the one doing the invades. Like, across the board, the Scorpions are just losing camp after camp.
What a turnaround for Snaddy, right? After the way that game 1 started in this set, I think 0 and 3, possibly even the first 3 kills of the set. I don't remember that far back. There's been too much action. But it was rough for Snaddy. And now it's just a complete turnaround. The Athenian Sages as a whole are looking like a cohesive unit. They have a 4,000 gold lead already. It seems like they have much more of a game plan ready. And the Scorpions are not responding too well. Actually seeing a facilitative style build coming out from Grave on this Naja too. As that breastplate of Valor built up, those Windfire wheels going to be popping often. And I don't know, man. The Scorpions, they really need to think how they're going to take these engagements, because if they keep waiting, the lead's just going to become insurmountable.
Now, it is a timer, right? They have to be careful. They can't let this lead snowball. However, oh man, I hate it when that happens. Oh, I've been there, Bayroneri. No worries, man. It's not insurmountable yet, right? It's 4K. It's looking rough. Like, they need to stop this bleed before it gets bigger. This is the point where it needs to stop growing. But you start looking at the late game, and it is a much stronger late game than it was in game 2. Bayroneri and RelentlessOne both have much stronger gods as we go into this late game. Tiamat late will shred health bars. And then after she's done shredding health bars from range, she's going to jump in and just start making a mess of the team fight for you. This Amaterasu pick for RelentlessOne, fantastic at turning these fights around. Still, Iron Man's being looked at. Sages, the aggressors. Oh. Scorpions have to be careful. Bayroneri took so much damage there.
On the 4-on-4, it's going the way of the Sages. Look at the health bar melt from Migiiiii, and that just creates all of the spaces that the Sages might need. It is just Geno around. Grave, though, spots it out, I think.
Can't do this, Geno.
Put so much pressure. Geno has to commit the River's Rebuke if they want anything to get done. It gets taken up into the air. RelentlessOne wants to go in, though. Has a good dazzling offensive. Hámmy is low health, but Geno has already fallen. Pyromancer low. Blast stuff to come through to steal. Nice silence. Comes out. RelentlessOne really wants to steal. Will not get it. They might find themselves in danger. The backup has arrived, though. Grave in some danger. Grave goes down. Bayroneri leaping in. Snaddy takes to the sky. Does not find the slam with the somersault cloud and will just have to get back to safety. It's still an objective for the Sages, though. Finally, some signs of life from the Scorpions.
Signs of life, but
oh, the bomb.
It's also a lot of signs of death as the Scorpions kind of funnel into them very awkwardly there. Geno manages to escape with his life, and with RelentlessOne, they're able to somehow sneak their way out, and it does open up an opportunity for them. Look at this. Scorpions, now look at the Primal Fury, go ahead and steal that one away. Close up some of that gold deficit. This is what they need to be doing. Only puts them on the board, and we're starting to see some of the effectiveness of the fights from the Scorpions. Bayroneri, once he got in there, did so much damage. It's unfortunately that he was forced out so early. That's Baba Yaga. That's the home sweet home. Yep. And it doesn't feel very sweet if you're on the receiving end of it. You've been on the Scorpions to disengage, pull back. They did a very good job of delaying the Sages. That's the only reason they were able to find any kills there. So they may not walk out with the objective, but at the very least, they're able to put some pressure on the Scorpions and put themselves in a position to answer with a different objective. Beacon, though, now on the line. The grouping from the Sages is already much better than the grouping from the Scorpions on account of there is some.
Grave in some danger, but decides to take off out of that River's Rebuke and will not connect. A lot of damage onto Migiiiii and will get away with that Grand Joust. GuyJ is here and dishes out decent damage, as does DonutDoug. More than happy to brawl with this Anhur. So the beacon's already gone in favor of the Sages. The Scorpions don't have a lot they can fight for here. No objective other than the Fire Giant up. And again, another small win for the Sages. That is why this gold lead has just been ever increasing. GuyJ may be in some trouble. Grave no ultimate. Shouldn't be too much danger, but it's tough still for the Scorpions. There's no situation where it seems they get a clean fight.
I mean, if they were grouped up for the objective they knew was coming up, then they could have had a much better fight.
There's not a warning for the beacon, though. Like, it's not like it tells you.
Yeah, you know, we really should change it. If it said, like, the Stygian beacon is spawning soon, that would be very helpful. That'd be, like, I think that probably would have changed everything for the Scorpions there. But no, it's just, they're not grouping up. We saw them play so well as a team in game number 1. They were doing everything together. DonutDoug stole that away. That's so tragic. You got to get Hámmy on your team if you want to contest those. I don't know what to tell you that. But in game 2 and game 3, the Scorpions don't feel like one team. They feel like 5 people in the same game. And if they want to turn this around, if they want to get to those qualifiers for Worlds, they have to get back to where they were in game 1. They've got to get to that synergy and come back together because they have great team fight. They have a good late game. They have to reach it at, you know, less than a 5k deficit.
Yeah, any deficit is too big of a deficit. Let's be honest. You never want to be taking that, but I mean, at the moment, the Scorpions don't really have a choice. The Sages have done a good job of building up on to a lead, and right now they are just starting to throw their weight around everywhere, and especially this right side of the map, right happens to be where the Fire Giant is.
No, Surtr's not in this game anymore.
All right, whatever.
Yeah, we banned that one.
The big fiery guy in the volcano, the one that gives the buff.
Be the fire demon.
Look at this, is Fire Giant. I'm not taking Fire Demon. Right-hand side grouping, Snaddy goes in first onto RelentlessOne, who takes a chunk of damage. However, Bayroneri dishes out a chunk of damage in response. GuyJ, though, not interested in this fight. It's a 5-on-5 for the Sages, with the Aaru Scorpions fighting at a man disadvantage, and the space creation from Snaddy and Gravy is just too big. Free objective for the Sages. Nothing the Scorpions could do about it, and that gold lead extends ever further.
Okay, I mean, we gotta have GuyJ at least hitting the tower right now, right? Instead, he's on the shield buff and walking straight into Grave.
Oh, Nayhoo.
For a collapse here. Nayhoo in some trouble. Gets blasted down. RelentlessOne gets the kill credit for that one. Nice little pick there, straight to the Gold Fury. That is up. The Scorpions. So finally, to get a pick. Look for an answer here. Try to mitigate some of the lead here. DonutDoug does not land the supernova to steal that one away. But still, look at the board here. Judas. 3 tier 1 towers still standing for the Athenian Sages. GuyJ opted to push the left lane rather than rotating to that Pyromancer because he's 2 levels down. He needs the farm. But he stops. He doesn't get that extra gold. They don't get the neutral objective and put it into their pockets. While they do get a Gold Fury, they have to start opening this map up. These towers cannot be allowed to stand for 25 minutes. You cannot be looking at a Fire Giant dance with all the towers still standing for your opponent. The Athenian Sages have full control of this map right now. They've got the gold lead, they've got the XP. Most important, they have the momentum. They can step up anywhere they want to. And the Scorpions, generally as a rule, simply flex backwards. They just bend back in towards their own jungle. And it seems like they're waiting to drop a net. But so far, I haven't seen any sign of it. It's just this constant retreat. Waiting for the Sages to step one person up somewhere. They can potentially find a pick.
Maybe Grave in some danger. Does use the artillery sash, has to use the beads, but Migiiiiii gives a huge chase. There's the Windfire Wheels in response. So RelentlessOne pushed up high, as is NotGeno. Snaddy sweeping up, but not a lot of damage on the side of the Sages here just yet. Looks like the Scorpions are opting to not give up this beacon. But oh my goodness, a massive potion and a ton of damage from Nayhoo. And Geno shall fall as well. Pushing forward now are the rest of the Sages. The full retreat from the Aaru Scorpions, as he mentioned, something they've been pretty accustomed to so far. And now they give the space for the Sages to look at this fire giant.
Man, the Sages just had too much of a lead around these fights. They were able to consistently blow one person up. The Scorpions tried to take Grave out, only got the Windfire wheels. And just flips right back to the Sages. This isn't over just yet. RelentlessOne. They're at the fire, gets pushed away. And not steal it up.
And not do it, but what about the chase afterwards? There's the dazzling offensive right into
stun.
Grave, gets a blink, gets a sash, takes him to the sky just to make everyone else wait. Meanwhile, Snaddy picks off Migiiiiii, Nayhoo picks off RelentlessOne. Now, this is 3 versus 5 with this first fire giant. The Aaru Scorpions looking to take a Phoenix here.
To take a Phoenix with, once again, all their tier 1 standing. They've got so much room to play with. They do not have to rush this, but they've got 30 seconds before Migiiiiii comes up. 30 seconds before RelentlessOne comes up. So 3v5 with a fire giant. No River's Rebuke is a tough defense to ask for.
DonutDoug firing off all of the shots they can. The minion wave is about to enter, and that will spell the end of this Phoenix via the Runic Bomb. Now, the Aaru Scorpions need to be careful. You can't put up too much of a defense, because if you end up wiping, that will just be the game. But the Titan has pushed out of the base and will not be available to be killed just yet. So the Sages back away, but now have an absolutely commanding lead.
Yeah, literally only reason we don't see a bigger fight there is because the Titans aren't in the base right now. If they had still been there, you know the Sages would have pushed to end that game. 3v5 with Fire Giant? Oh, we take that every single time. Scorpions, very lucky that the Binds of Tartarus are no more right now. They're gonna be able to step forward, burn this Titan down before the Sages get there. And, Jesus, this could be a big moment. This could be the first tier 1 tower falling for the... No, they're walking away. Never mind. Are you kidding me?
Look, the Titan still gets it, I think. I don't think Snaddy has the damage to block this. So there will be a tier 1 tower. And look, see, GuyJ contributed, put the pillar there, but oh my goodness, Geno is already falling down, retreating so far away. Snaddy wants to give chase, but doesn't want to commit too hard. Grave goes in, doesn't get anyone though, with the Windfire wheels, and Migiiiii's putting out damage on them. Now Bayroneri fire back, Migiiiiii has fallen down, Nayhoo will take down Bayroneri. The retreat now from the Aaru Scorpions, all because Geno fell low. All of a sudden, it's another tough engagement for the Scorpions. The Sages just winning everywhere.
I mean, that's what this kind of lead will do for you. It's 9,000 at this point. It's so hard to win any kind of neutral fight for the Scorpions. They shouldn't even be looking at the Sages at that point. They are way too far down in gold to even think about stepping up and fighting that. Sure, you got rid of the Titan. Excellent. You pushed your Titan forward. Excellent. Take that win and go. Get out of dodge. The Fury wasn't up. They didn't have to risk losing anything on the map there. They just took a really bad fight for no potential gain. Now, looking at this left bird, the siege is all in favor of the Sages. Home Sweet Home and Watery Grave will be coming up soon. Keep an eye out.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Onto the sky. And now Snaddy up to finish them off. Migiiiiii cannot stand this fight. RelentlessOne has taken a lot of damage. There's a supernova out from DonutDoug, who turns their attention to this Phoenix. Left side bird goes down. RelentlessOne almost goes down as well. That is the Home Sweet Home used. But surgically, the Athenian Sages are picking apart the Aaru Scorpions. 2 Phoenixes down. 27 minutes into this game. It is going to be one heck of a comeback for the Scorpions to turn this around.
This is a tough ask for the Scorpions. And everything the Sages are doing right now is like the opposite of what the Scorpions have been doing all game. Sages, you secure that Primal Fury. You see how they step forward to try to find something, and then pull back after they get it. This is what the Scorpions haven't been doing. They try to step forward, try to take a fight that they're not in position for. They don't have the means to really fully win and commit to. And it's been costing them so much. If they were wanting to fight back like this, it should have been 20 minutes ago, before the gold lead was this bad. I granted 20 minutes ago it was at like 3,000, so that's kind of wild to think about. But it's a result of the Scorpions being so passive and never stepping up to take those fights, never challenging the Sages around these camp invades. The Sages have simply been allowed to roll through this game, and they've done so very effectively. They've rolled, they've gotten a snowball, they're continuing to build it up. Fire Giant spawning in any moment now, and the Scorpions at this deficit should not be considering contesting this. It's not enhanced. We've seen that the Sages aren't the team to sit around for a minute and a half and wait for it to become enhanced. I say that, and they are definitely just sitting around right now and not starting that up, so I might be wrong. Scorpions, are you serious?
Nayhoo is cut off here. There's the Grand Joust going a long distance. There is the home sweet home. But this is turning into more than just a pick. Migiiiiii gets Nayhoo so low. The Aegis Amulet comes through and will get a big pick, and a pause comes out at an extremely vital moment. Spooky, I will set the scene. And this could be it. This is the all-important engagement. The Aaru Scorpions have a 4 versus 5 advantage in their favor. Migiiiiii has already blown the entirety of their kit, but has got the all-important pick. I don't know. This is going to be one of the most tense moments with all on the line. Don't forget, this is all about Worlds qualification. What happens next?
Well, you have to remember, Nayhoo did get into the home sweet home, did throw the fire down, did get the damage off before dying. At this point, even if Migiiiiii has died, if you're able to get damage out before falling, you have so much of it, it can still be enough to turn the fight. You see, Migiiiii's not by himself. He's got his team coming up from 2 directions, behind and around. But they're fighting into a massive lead right now. 12,000 in favor of the Sages. They have to do this quick. They have to do it fast. Migiiiiii likely to be the first target here. He's going to fall. It could be a domino effect. Have to see how the Sages can approach this fight. The lead they have, it should be as easy as just jumping in.
Tune in next week to find out what happens at the end of this. I'm totally kidding. Let's get back on into the game and see how this fight goes down. So Migiiiiii has retreated, has picked off Nayhoo already. River's Rebuke comes through. Nice Riptide onto DonutDoug, who's getting chased away by Bayroneri. Hámmy low health. Snaddy goes up into the sky. Migiiiiii still involved in this fight, still dishing out the damage. Snaddy can't finish them off. GuyJ leaping forward, wants to back up their team. It is just the one pick so far. The Athenian Sages back away, but the Fire Giant is exposed and will be turning to an enhanced Fire Giant very, very soon.
Yeah, but I don't know that the Scorpions can even look at this Fire Giant. They're going to go instead for the Pyromancer, reset it! NotGeno is already back. He's seen on map, dealing with those fire minions right now. Sage is going to step back forward. They're going to use every bit of this lead that they can. Scorpions found a pick, but they've been forced back once again. Nothing has changed. Sage is still in the dominant position, still around this Fire Giant. The only thing that's really been impacted is now we're looking at the enhanced Fire Giant. Now the Scorpions have to defend, and Bayroneri can't be up there.
The Sages drop it. Bayroneri dropped low, though. GuyJ caught off from the rest of their team. Nice Aegis Amulet. RelentlessOne comes in to dish out some damage, but DonutDoug picks off their opposing number. NotGeno also going down. It is just the Goldie too high for the Scorpions to fight into. Migiiiiii with no safety does get onto the horse just about. Survives with the shield from that ring toss. Bayroneri lives to fight another day, lives to contest this enhanced Fire Giant. RelentlessOne stood on a warden grave, waiting around the corner. It's a tough one for the Scorpions.
Yeah, RelentlessOne gonna dash, but Grave is here on the chase. He knows, and RelentlessOne knows he knows at this point. Stun, good. Doesn't have the Windfire wheels, but he has so much damage. RelentlessOne completely chased away. This Fire Giant goes the way of the Athenian Sages. There's nothing anyone can say or do to stop it. And Judas, as you mentioned, this is the enhanced version. This is the big boy right here. These towers, not long for the world. Tier 2 will evaporate if the Sages decide to look at it, but frankly, I don't know that they need to. We've seen time and time again, these teams just ignore that last freestanding tower and can push through these Phoenixes. With Enhanced Fire Giant, it becomes very simple. Power Potion's beginning to come online. Bayroneri can have such an impact in these fights, but it's consistently just pushed away. The Scorpions got split up dangerously in that fight, with GuyJ being completely isolated. There's nothing he could do. Used the Aegis to try to survive for as long as he could. Ends up dying. Scorpions are left 5-14. Now standing at their Phoenix lines, wondering how they defend against this composition from the Sages. The Home Sweet Home alone puts so much damage and disruption into a Phoenix defense. It's one of the ultimates that's really good on defense and even better on offense. You just toss that fire into that small space and it forces distance to be created from the Scorpions. Sages have just about all the tools they need, and now with Oni minions walking down all 3 lanes, this is just a waiting game for them. They don't even need to wait for their Onis to step into this middle Phoenix. They can simply walk forward and allow their Onis to walk towards the Titan. They're already putting some more pressure on this left bird. It's just recently respawned, still very low. Keep an eye on everything happening here. It's bound to explode in any moment.
Last stand for the Aaru Scorpions. Where will they choose to take it? The Athenian Sages forcing them to first take it at this left-hand side of the map. There are Tiamat Basilisks defending the right-hand side, but the left side is indefensible. Walking right up and taking that is DonutDoug. The Athenian Sages now turn their attention to this mid lane Phoenix. The Scorpions try to find a defense, catch Nayhoo with a good riptide. That's the beads out from the Baba Yaga. Ring toss bounces around absolutely everyone. And now the Sages step in, blink in from Snaddy, leap away from GuyJ, has to retreat from the fight. RelentlessOne creates some space, but Grave dives right into that space. Fantastic River's Rebuke locks down the front line, but this Phoenix is still standing tall. RelentlessOne smashing out to Grave, does a ton of damage to this Nayhoo. Can they find the kill? Bayroneri leaping back to safety will get there, but Grave has sustained up. RelentlessOne does not finish the kill. The mid lane Phoenix falls down. Their base is wide open. The Sages picking them apart.
2 Phoenixes, 1 kill for 0. This is absolutely perfect for the Sages. They're not the healthiest right now, but they've got the enhanced Fire Giant. They've got the enhanced healing. They're still looking for a little bit more. Keep an eye on the left side. Snaddy split pushing, bringing those minions in, putting pressure on the Titan.
Phoenix is under duress, gets a good stun onto Bayroneri, does Snaddy. Already does take a lot of damage though. Has to retreat, but so do the Aaru Scorpions because all 3 Phoenixes are down. Health bar's not the best for the Sages, but not too bad either. Oh my goodness, so much damage onto GuyJ, who is out of this fight. The all-important carry. Bayroneri now taking too much damage. DonutDoug kills off Migiiiiii. The Athenian Sages have done it. They turn around a Game 1 loss, and after 34 more minutes, they pick apart the Aaru Scorpions and take away 3rd place.
The Sages needed a win here to try to get to the qualifiers, and they found it. They found it through a miserable Game 1 that just looked absolutely horrible for them. I was looking at that, I thought, wow, Scorpions are really feeling themselves today. They've got a lot of passion in this fight. Game 2 came around, and the Sages woke something up. That Game 1 put a fire under them, and they came back swinging much harder than I think either of them expected to. And the Scorpions never had an answer. The constant aggression coming out. It started from minute 1. And from the very first second of the game, the Sages were looking to build any kind of lead, to try to push the Scorpions back. And it really came down to Hámmy walking in and just buying so much time around those purple buffs, making them take so long to do anything. They're constantly losing minions to the tower, losing golden XP, and then to top it off, Hámmy gets the buff anyway.
It's just how it went. Unfortunately, for the Aaru Scorpions, it was too much pressure, and eventually they succumbed to it. I think if the game went on that much longer, possibly we could see a good defense come through. RelentlessOne was dishing out the damage. GuyJ as well had that full build on her. It got to the point where the Scorpions were ready to take a fight, but by that point, it was too late. And that's just how it is, unfortunately, for the Scorpions. Sometimes you get hit with a game plan that you cannot contend with, and the Athenian Sages really mixed it up, brought in some picks that we weren't expecting. Surtr being banned out in the third game just opened space for Snaddy to dish out 40,000 damage on Sun Wukong. You might not like the pick, but Snaddy showed why they like the pick.
Yeah, Snore Wukong definitely did put up the numbers, had a great impact in the game. I just felt like the Scorpions just didn't fight for it. And I don't like saying that because I know they want it. I know they want it badly. But it feels like they couldn't get on the right foot. They were constantly looking at things and things were just happening to them. They finally found their fire and looked to fight back. But they waited too long. It was far too late. And it's truly tragic to see because this team has so much potential and so much talent in it. It just didn't feel like it was put on the full display today.
Well, that is it for this set. But this is only Friday, Spooky. We still have 2 more days of action to go. Coming up next will, of course, be the EU SCC tomorrow morning and plenty more SPL following that. But I've been Judas Priestley, joined today by Spooky for this absolutely fantastic game. We also had Printers and Rosie backing us up, bringing you everything you need to see. That's it from us today. Plenty more action for this weekend. Make sure you tune in.